Hey there, Knicks fans. Man, that was surreal. That was surreal. That was so strange. How you doing? It's your boy Jonathan Macri with you for the last episode of the season, of the regular season. We obviously have a lot more to do in the off season, which starts right now. But yes, the last episode of the regular season of the Knicks Film School Podcast. Just finished watching I don't even know what to say about what we just watched. We just watched a lot of stuff happen in a game that meant absolutely nothing other than it may have meaning for the Knicks lottery standing, which we could talk about in a bit. Didn't mean anything for Toronto. They rested some of their guys. I don't care. It was really cool to see what we just saw. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of stuff in the chat. But first and foremost, I'm going to bring him in with is it a bittersweet congratulations? I
No,
don't like to.
It's a 100% congratulations. There's nothing bittersweet about this. This is all sweet, no bitter.
I don't like to lose. I don't like to lose. I don't care for it. It's not my jam.
It's between you and your God.
But if I had to lose, I'm glad I could lose to my good friend and very smart basketball prognosticator. That sounds like a thing.
Sure.
Jeremy Cohen. And also, if I had to lose, I'm happy I got to lose on a 42-point outing from Obi Toppin and a 30-point triple-double from Emmanuel Quickly. Jeremy Cohen, hello, sir.
Hey, John. In the words of Mel Brooks, it's good to be the king. So it's been great. Listen, I'm just glad that I could create this in a way where there was some drama involved.
Yeah.
Look, I knew everything was going to happen. I purposely punted on that Kings game, knowing that you'd have a chance to come back, get your hopes up, and then it's just quickly dashed. Here's the thing, because I remember last week when I picked 2-1, and you guys were like, why wouldn't you pick 0-3? Because one win obviously would have done that, and they should have won against the Nets. They didn't, whatever. But then they turn around and win the most recent, their last game before this one, and then felt validated. And then we had today, and I'm sure for you were obviously rooting for a win, but a part of you is probably like, this is the closest I've come to rooting for a loss in a while. But I don't want to speak for you. Maybe that's not true.
Yes, as I turn our YouTube stream audio on. Yeah, which one day I will figure out how to do this without the audio going on the thing. Anyway, I don't know how to root for a loss. I'll never know how to root for a loss. It's not in my. You know what I felt like? I felt a lot like Pop tonight. I don't know if you saw his quote that was tweeted out. I think Bobby Marks had it tweeted out. But basically, somebody asked him like, "Why'd you guys decide to go for the play-in instead of tanking?" And Pop was basically like, "I don't know how to do that. Maybe it makes sense." He actually said it like, it probably makes sense. I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how I would go about it. That's like me. I don't know how I would go about sitting and rooting for a loss, even though a loss would have ensured, for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, by the way, that I would have won the season-long predictions battle against you. And even though, by the way, a loss, I guess we should just get out of the way now, so we don't have to spend time on it later. If they lost tonight, it would have meant that regardless of what New Orleans, it would have meant that if New Orleans won, they would have finished with a better lottery standings than New Orleans. And now there's a chance that New Orleans could lose tonight. I think they're playing the Warriors or Grizzlies, one of those teams. Warriors, yeah. And if they lose and then both them and the Spurs get eliminated from the play-in tournament, then the Knicks will have the 12th best odds going into ping pong ball night, lottery night in about a month from now. I'll just ask, since we brought it up, and then we have a lot of other much more important stuff or much more fun stuff to talk about. Did that matter to you tonight?
No. Even
I didn't think it would.
Aside the fact that I was rooting for a win for our little tete-a-tete. No, it didn't. Again, I want to make it very clear. I don't begrudge fans for rooting for losses when we're at this type of level. I also don't begrudge fans for rooting for wins. I think either way, it's fine. I think when we get to the point of it's like, how dare you root for this one or the other one when there's clear and present logic on each side that I think is very fair, that it rubs me the wrong way. Like it doesn't, I don't see it making you less of a fan because you want to play the odds. Same as how I don't see you being less of a fan because you want to see the team that you love win. And I understand that there are some people who are just like they don't know how to not be miserable. Like they actually take enjoyment out of it. Like I feel like there are a lot of people out there who maybe will never forgive this franchise for passing on like the Donovan Mitchells of the world, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders, the Tyrese Halliburtons, whatnot.
That's fine.
Then cool. If that's the way you feel, that's fine. But then turn around and be like, oh my God, I can't believe that Knicks are probably going to end up with the 12th pick. Like, hello, all of those players were taken 12th or 13th. So it's a crapshoot. And when you look at this team and you look at 5 of the 6 draft picks that this administration has made, and when you have a game like tonight where the Raptors weren't taking it easy, you know, they were trying to abide by Adrian Griffin, their head coach.
Yeah, the guys that were out there were playing hard.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they rested a few guys. And this is the other thing that I don't understand, because you go back to the Wizards game, and you look at who the Knicks played. They had a 10-man roster. And you have the Wizards, who had 13 guys playing. What are the Knicks going to do? They're going to take Fournier and Burks out, right? So that brings them to 8 men. And then RJ was hurt. So are you like, in what world is Tom Thibodeau really going to run a 7-man roster just like hopefully lose?
That's look,
it's not in his DNA.
It's not.
It's not like, so that's the thing. It's like, I get it. If you want to root for losses or if you wanted to, fine. If you want to root for wins, that's cool. It just, we don't have to make it this perplexing thing about it. And you know what? Maybe it comes to the point where the team that picks 10th winds up picking in the top 4, and that would suck, right? But also that's just like not, that's like, if you know anything about how the butterfly effect works, that's just not how it is. Like one thing sets in motion all these other things. Like
the difference we're talking about is a difference of had Tom Thibodeau gone out and over the last 2 games played Ferren Hunt and Emmanuel Quickley, or sorry, not Emmanuel, and Orion Arcidiacono 40 minutes apiece and benched Emmanuel Quickley, you're talking about the possibility of an increase in like 3, 4, 5%, depending on a couple other scenarios at getting into the top 4, based from what they have now versus what they probably would have had. And what happened because Tom Thibodeau decided to play his guys? We got 2 more career highs from Obi Toppin, who just went out and had 79 points in the last 2 games? Did I add that up correctly?
Honestly, I've been so in the moment tonight with Obi Toppin that I have not considered how good he has been just in the last couple days, points total wise.
You want to know the most exciting moment of my night? This Knicks fans. This is how you know that I am a deranged soul that is hopeless. I was sitting there with every additional Toppin 3 attempted, miss or make, and recalculating his 3-point percentage for the season. And do you know why I was doing that, Jeremy? Let me see if you could guess why I was doing that.
I'm going to guess because at one point, Obi Toppin had the worst 3-point percentage of a group of players. And I
was just looking at one other player.
Russell Westbrook. Of course. No, I'm kidding. Julius Randle.
Julius Randle.
You're looking to compare, measuring.
Hold on. With that he made, I think he made the last one. He finished whatever.
Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
He finished 6 of 14. His 3-point percentage on the season, 30.769%. Julius Randle, it says on his basketball reference page, 30.8. I went and I did the calculation for the totals, 30.769%.
Wow.
Dead even. Yes. Deranged, unhealthy.
No, Andrew messaged like, Julius, like, I know I was messing with the Russ stuff, but yeah, no, that's, you know how we were talking about before, maybe a few weeks ago, I can't even, they're all blurring together, but how it was like, the Knicks had what, 5 different guys who got 40 pieces this season, like 4 of them. And it's like, now you're getting Obi Toppin doing it. Yeah. And like, granted, you could say whatever you want about the end of the season. I see a Raptors team that was still well rostered and playing pretty difficult. Like, to me, it's just, it's amazing how, and I know we'll get into this more, but like how so many of these things seem positive. It's just overcast by a lot of doom and gloom that this season was, and putting a bow on the end of that.
Yeah, look, there's going to be a bunch of takes that will come from, especially these last couple of games, but really the last couple of weeks of games with the young players getting more time. Specifically, I think you're going to hear, and we'll talk about it tonight because he said it this week, Obi Toppin's comments about how, it's a lot easier when I'm not looking over my shoulders. I'm not sure there's one right way. I mean, anybody who's expecting me to get on here and be like, Tibbs is a genius because this is what accountability produces. When a guy is like looking over his shoulder, it's going to make him work that much harder and blah, blah, blah. I don't know about that. Like, to me, it's not great when one of your players comes out and is like, yes, I'm not playing up to what I think my capability is because I'm worried about getting pulled from the game. That's not ideal. At the same time, while Obi Toppin may not think that is ideal, I do believe that he worked his ass off this year and last year. And I do believe a big part of him working his ass off last year and this year is because he's like, fuck, if I don't work my ass off, I'm not going to get on the court. So I think the truth, like, you're going to hear one extreme and you're going to hear the other extreme. And I think in most cases, as is this one, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I'm not going to get bogged down in that. I'm making the affirmative choice, and I'll turn it to you after this because we'll talk about the Leanne Rose press conference, but I want to get to the super chats pretty soon. I am choosing to focus, as is my brand, on the positive here, which is that this team has not like decent young talent. This team has legitimately good, exciting young talent. I don't know that I really needed to see this weekend to like prove that to myself, but it was nice to see. It was like, it's like when you have a theory and then you see, and then like something happens where it's like, oh yes, I wasn't an idiot. I was right. And there's going to be all kinds of referendums on this season and what could have been and what should have been and all that. People have some answering to do, including the guy that I've been supporting all year, Tom Thibodeau. But moving forward, when you look at the collective group that they've assembled, I don't know how you cannot be excited about what the organization has in store. And with the caveat that they could still fuck it up. I mean, like, they can still fuck it up. And there's a lot of ways they can fuck it up. And we're going to spend the next couple months talking about the ways that hopefully they don't fuck it up. But your thoughts before we get to the super chats.
I think the glass half full. I'll save the Obi stuff for a moment.
Okay.
This team does have promising aspects to it. You got good young talent. The worst thing we're saying right now is Tibbs. And I know we disagree on that, and that's fine. I feel like the second most debated thing is, okay, turning it to the roster, moving these pieces along. And again, it feels like, as I said earlier, it's not Julius being pushed out the door by himself. It's now we have to move Julius because we have Obi Toppin. And like, we have to prioritize his minutes, because if they're not going to play together, and we know Tibbs and we know his desire to have a rim running 5 with a 4, and he tries not to do Obi and Randall minutes together unless he absolutely has to. You're not going to find a world in which there is an equal balance. And by equal, I don't mean like 24 and 24. I mean a deserving balance. It's not going to happen. And so you have to make it happen. And then it goes to the point of not just taking toys away from Tibbs in the sense of the veteran players, but just like cashing in so you can turn, something out of nothing. right? Like you take cap space and you turn it into players, you turn those players and your other assets into something better. And that's the goal. And tonight was another example, at least for me, that there are present flaws that this front office has. And the biggest one was free agency. What I thought was going to be a very good free agency. I was incredibly optimistic. I was high off of the hype of various things, said a lot of stuff. You think back, a lot of it was wrong. It just was. And that's okay. And the reason it's okay is because, as we've talked about, these contracts were built to be traded starting this summer.
Yes.
And I look at a game like tonight's where you have the 8th overall pick in 2020, who by so many people was considered a bust. And he's breaking out.
He's clearly not a bust.
He's clearly not.
I don't know what he is yet, but he's not a bust.
Right. You've got Emmanuel Quickley, 25th pick in that draft, not a point guard, doing a lot of really nice point guard things and just being a winning player.
Looks awful like a point guard to me.
Looks awful like a point guard, doesn't he? You got Jericho Sims, the 58th pick overall, being found, and that's just completely found money. Even like getting a backup player at 58 is a home run in itself. Like, I'm not saying in the grand scheme of things is a home run, but like finding success at that point in the draft, incredible. And I don't want to say that this is like a super high point for the Knicks because it's coming off of a down season, but you get to a point where a lot of your larger concerns are kind of being assuaged by things we're seeing. And I don't want to hold weight and say like these games without Julius are like the most important thing, but it is a smaller sample size, but it's a glimpse into what the vision is. And the problem is that, as we'll transition to what Leon Rose was talking about, it's hard to identify exactly where they're going with it in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, we don't know. Because I mean, I know he said words tonight. We'll talk about what the words were. I really could give there are a few things in life I could care less about than the words that Leon Rose said tonight. Well, that being said, we'll get to them in a bit. Let's get to some super chats because it's been an awesome season from everybody here who has watched these bad boys after games. It's been an awesome season for us doing the Sunday pods. So we'll end it with a bang, starting, of course, with none other than Robert Cross. Is it fair and reasonable to say that the Knicks would have been in the playoffs if IQ and Obi weren't developing on the bench all year? It might be. It's in the top 5 questions of the season, right?
Has to be.
I think it has to be. Is it fair and reasonable to say that? It's fair to say that. It's reasonable to say that. Is it fair and reasonable to say that? I don't know. If you would have started quickly a point guard at a certain point, and if you would have but to me, it would have required, in my mind, it would have required mothballing Julius. I don't know that there was a world where you were going to get this from Obi with him playing 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 more minutes a night. I think this is a world where we're seeing without Julius Randle. That's my answer. And I don't know how that would have been possible other than shutting him down like much earlier. But
unfortunately, we'll never know.
Yeah, fortunately,
that's the sad reality is that this would be a great question. Like Emmanuel Quickley had a phenomenal game tonight. It was also the first game that he started that wasn't due to injury, and yet wait, it actually was because RJ Barrett was hurt and he filled in for him. It's just like little things that eat at you, but they're actually not that little, because when you see Alec Burks playing the amount of minutes that he has been and shouldn't be, and I don't mean that as disrespect to Alec Burks, it's a coaching decision. It sucks to see it. And, like this game was great. I also wish that we could be preparing for talking about the play-in.
Yeah,
maybe
me too.
Talking about the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. Forgotten NYC, thanks guys for another awesome season. Thank you for always chiming in. Rich McLeod, our guest producer sometimes. Can't stay for the entire stream, but wanted to thank you all for letting me be a small part of KFS family this year. Go Knicks. Love you guys. We love you too, Rich. And thank you for being a small part of the KFS family this year. And thanks again, really, truly, for everybody who continues to chime in on these things. Another one from Robert Cross. He's getting them all in early. First time, long time, John. Of course, Robert. The most important move in the offseason is moving Randle. Knicks have more than one future all-star on this team. I mean, look, I think if you think that RJ is going to make it, an all-star team or 2 or 3 or more. Is that the craziest thing to say, that either Emmanuel Quickley or Obi Toppin is capable of making an all-star team one day? And again, I'm not saying this based on what we've seen this weekend. I've had inklings of this thought throughout the year. And with Obi, it's more like we don't know. It's like because we haven't seen it on a large scale. I don't think it's insane.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, like, StatMuse is saying that Obi Toppin has the first 40-10 Knicks game of the season. 42-10, 6 threes. He's averaging 27 and 6 on 55-46 shooting splits.
Oh, 5
games. Yeah. I'm sure you know this, but like, why not? Why can't he do it?
His per 36 numbers all year have been really good. So, and in terms of the most important move in the offseason is moving Randall. We're going to talk a lot more about that. Maybe tonight we'll talk a lot more about that. I will just say very quickly that I do not disagree. Hush Zoo, what's going on? Final game. Thank you guys, KFS squad, for the pods post games this year. Looking forward to the offseason content. Leon looked like a clown in his interview. If Obi isn't our starting power forward next season, I will be on the fire Leon train. Here's my very brief thought. I am very happy that he talked up Julius Randle. I wish he would have done the interview wearing a fucking Julius Randle t-shirt, and hat and button, whatever. Make everybody in the world think that you would not trade Julius Randle if it was the end. Like, if your job depended on it, please, by all means, make the world think that. That's where I'm coming from. I don't care about anything else that he said. Your thoughts on that?
When it was the trade deadline, I mentioned I wanted him to speak.
Yes.
I'm glad he spoke today. But here's the thing. The speaking part for me wasn't what he was saying. It was the act of just getting in front of the cameras so we could say, like, hey, it feels like there's more responsibility. And granted, I know that there is, but when he's not talking with people and there's limited communication, it gets people to think. And when they were already upset, it gets more and more, and there's just more buildup. If you were looking for clear-cut answers for Leon Rose tonight, I don't know what to tell you. I also would be pretty pissed off if Leon Rose said, like, hey, here's what we're thinking, here's what we have in mind, and here's like a rough outline of where they want to go.
But you never get that from any executive. No executive ever says that.
But I think a lot of fans seem to think, I want answers. Like, well, a lot of times in life, you just don't get the answers. And it would be bad business to give some of those answers. Like, talking about Julius Randle, if he didn't talk him up, we would say, oh, like, Julius is gone. He's clearly out. It's over. Okay, cool. I'm not saying one interview is going to then get people to be influenced, like, oh, I'm out on Julius if Leon Rose is talking him down. But what do you expect? Like, do you expect him? Like, he acknowledged that it was a down year for him. And then he said, like, but look, he was one of 3 players to get 20, 10, and 5. And even if you feel like the usage and the minutes and the stats, all that is arbitrary, that's fine. I respect that. But it just, like, it's this need to have him speak in like clear, concise ways that he's just never going to do. And he never did that. Like, Vork even wrote this in one of his articles, that he was always very quiet.
Yeah. Quieter guy.
So why are we expecting him to be this bold and brash guy? Like, we just sat through Scott Perry and Steve Mills basically fucking proclaiming to the world. James Dolan did it. And what happened, John? Did the Knicks get these players that they wanted?
No, they did not.
They did not.
They did not get the players.
Under promise, over deliver. That's what you do. That's how you succeed in life and in business. And I think Leon Rose knows a hell of a lot more about that than I certainly do. So, yes.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I just have to stop you. Did you just use the rationale of, like, Leon Rose knows a hell of a lot more than I do about X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
I've heard that somewhere before, Jeremy.
Yeah.
To justify a defense of a certain person.
But see, I'm not doing it blindly, because I can also say.
I could also say that Leon Rose went out and signed Kemba Walker and gave Nerlens Noel 2 years, $18 million.
Sure. And I can also say it, and I was going to bring this up, but shout out to Vivek Dadanya at VDadanya, who had a great thread talking about a design flaw of Tibbs, where in 2016-17, he blew 22 double-digit leads. We've seen the double-digit leads being blown here. We're talking about a roster in games like today that are exciting because of why? The players that Leon Rose brought in, helping to, whether it was him being like, I want this player, or picking someone or multiple people to say, we want these players, and making them successful.
I think we could go back and forth about this all day long. I would come back and say something to the effect, to the effect of like they had to get those leads, which you know who else said something about to that effect recently this week? Quinn Snyder, who everybody seems to think is one of the great coaches in the league. That team has blown more big leads than the Knicks, and they have Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. You know, it's like there are reasons why this stuff happens. It doesn't mean the coach is a bad coach. It means that something is off in the water, and there has been something off in the water all year. And I think we could go back and forth on Tibbs. What we can agree on is that, again, to some of the comments that have already been made, Julius Randle has stunk and been very bad. And, you know, I think that's the common denominator. Like any argument that you have about this team, it always comes back to Julius, which gets us to our next super chat. Robert Cross, is it fair and reasonable to say fans are losers if they embrace the tank, losing culture, GTFOH? I won't say the words that those letters stand for. No, I'm not going to say that actually, because it's math. And like, I am not going to say like the notion of tanking is completely flawed. I agree with you, Jeremy, that people who are like, if you don't adhere to this argument, you are an idiot. Like, I think it is one of the great debates in sports. And I think that I personally am not a pro tanker, but you know, I respect the arguments of those who are, but I'm also willing to admit that like part of it is just like I don't enjoy it. It's not fun for me to be pro tank. I enjoy like rooting for wins more, and I'm happy to talk myself into the logic behind that, you know, than I otherwise would be. So yeah,
that's how I feel.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad we could agree on that. That's good. Okay.
We agree on most things, fortunately.
We agree on most things. Manny Campos, RJ, Obi, IQ is the core. Finding a stretch five and a playmaking wing to pair with them should be our priority. Thanks, KFS, for getting us through the year. Yeah, no, thank you, Manny, for being around all year. Of those two, a stretch five and a playmaking wing. I mean, playmaking wing. There's every team in the league would like to have a playmaking wing. They're not that easy to find. There's no obvious ones on the trade market, and I don't know. Do you count TJ Warren as a playmaking wing? TJ Warren's a scoring wing.
TJ Warren has played the same amount of minutes as we have. In the
this year.
With all due respect to TJ Warren,
I know. I'm just thinking of like who's on the free agent. Like you're probably not going to get the ideal wing partner for RJ Barrett this season. You might get the stretch five. You don't think so?
You're not going to get a stretch five. Look at the type of centers that the Knicks have employed.
Okay,
they're not stretch fives. Like again, if we're talking about like guys who take healthy diets from beyond the arc, it's just not what the Knicks do. It's not what they like.
Unless that person also protects the rim. And I'm talking about one person and one person only. So,
but the Knicks also care deeply about offensive rebounds. So there's a trade-off.
That's true. And he doesn't. And we're talking about Miles Turner. He does not offensive rebound in basketball.
He does not.
Okay. Next up, Drew P. I was hesitant on Obi, but he proved me wrong. IQ, RJ, and Obi are all starters next year. I want either Cam / Griffin or Mitch / Duren to be paired with them. Oh, okay. So basically you're looking for a full-on youth movement, where if you draft Griffin, you keep Mitch, and if you draft Duren, you put Cam, and you want 5 young players in the starting lineup. I think that I am leaning very strongly towards that being my ideal offseason. Personally, I don't think it's going to happen. And Jeremy shaking his head.
It's not. Listen, the reality is that the Knicks will have some sort of veteran presence on the roster next year.
I'm okay with that. I just think
it's fine. But
the notion of starting 5 young guys, I like.
Sure, but my point is that when you have veteran talent and when you have Tom Thibodeau in the building, you're going to have veterans playing in the starting lineup. It's not going to be 5 young guys who have all like less than 5 years of their career in the books. Like we just saw Alec Burks starting at point guard for how many games when we knew the season didn't even matter. Evan Fournier was still like, it's just not, the reason I'm trying to be as adamant about this as possible is because I do believe there is a Randall trade that should be on the horizon.
Sure as hell hope so.
And Randall will have to bring back salary filler as well. You're not going to likely find a situation where you are trading Randall either as part of a 3-team deal where salary goes to cap space and opens it up, or you're trading it and you're getting nothing in return. It just doesn't really happen that way. And if the Knicks do create cap space some crazy way, they're going to use it to sign a veteran. And if they sign a veteran, that veteran's not coming in to play backup.
And let me just
going to be started.
And I'll just say for anybody wondering, well, what about these salary dump trades that we hear about every offseason? I could be wrong, and I'm sure Jeremy has thought about this. I don't see this offseason shaping up to be the offseason where there's going to be a need for a cap dump situation. Maybe I'm wrong. Those kinds of dominoes fall unexpectedly. But, like, again, the Knicks, like the only way that would happen is the type of scenario where you just talked about, where Julius would be going somewhere and the Knicks would be taking on an abhorrent contract in his place. And there's only one contract on everybody's mind. And like, you know, I don't see the rush trade happening. But you know, if you were to give me truth serum, because I don't need it because I have a podcast, I just say what the fuck I want. And you're like, what's your ideal offseason? There would be a part of me that would think long and hard about like Julius and salary, bring back Russ, get the picks, waive Russ, say bye-bye. And go on your merry way. I don't think it's not going to happen. We both know it's not going to happen. I know, yeah. But I'm just saying what I might prefer. Okay, continuing along, we have some, again, amazing super chat performance tonight on the last night of the season. Thank you. We're going to keep going along. Drew P. Oh, no, we got Drew P. Harry Donert. What's going on, Harry? Always appreciate you. Not much to say about this frustrating season, although there were some positives to take from it. But thanks for all the content to get me through. Love everything you guys do. Now the work really begins. Thank you, Harry. 1. Number 2, amen to that. You know, we could talk up the young guys who were blue in the face, but it will only mean something if they sort out the issues that will allow them to focus on those young guys. And I do believe that there is some hard work ahead. Not impossible work. And some of that hard work maybe just, I don't know, looking in the mirror and saying like, we need to do X, Y, and Z. And some of that involves Tom Thibodeau, by the way. Bobby Pooh, what's going on, Bobby? Long time, first time. If my brother Schwinny ran the Knicks, would we ever win a game by less than 15, let alone lose one ever again? I'll hang up and listen. I think Schwinn thinks if he ran the Knicks, they would be 82-0 every year.
I've actually talked to Schwinn about this before. And
what?
No, just the idea where if he ran the Knicks and like what, and he's like, there's no way that they would respect me. And I was like, yeah, they wouldn't respect me either. So Schwinn knows where his place is. He knows as a fan and a passionate one at that he has ideas in mind, but he knows from the coaching standpoint, it would be really tough to do. But
yeah,
I'll let him speak for himself on that.
I will also let him speak for himself on that. Steven Cordero, what's going on, Steven? Thanks, KFS, for all the hard work this year. The Knicks have a bright future if the front office is focused on building around RJ, Obi, and IQ. You're seeing a lot of those 3 names together.
No Ryan Arcidiacono respect.
It's really shameful.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Jessica, what's going on, Jessica? Obi Toppin's audition for Randall's job was a resounding success. Cheers to the Obi Avenger crowd. They should feel vindicated. John, Jeremy, thank you both so much. I appreciate you sincerely. You made this season enjoyable. You helped make this season enjoyable for me, Jessica. Thank you. As far as the audition, can I admit something? Every time as the game kept going on, when Obi would do something and the points just kept going up and up and up, I would look on the Knicks bench when they came down the court, and I would just try to look and see if Julius was like moving. And I did not see one time where he was up. Like, and you saw it, like Nerlens Noel was like into it. Like he was into it big time, up off the bench, like cheering him on the whole thing. His other teammates who were like still active and like participants in this game were very excited. Not so much Julius. He was just kind of sitting there chilling. I can't help but feel that this was Obi Toppin sending a message to the Knicks front office, which was that, in short, this is what I could do. Either give me an opportunity to do it or send me somewhere where I could do it. But the days of me sitting and watching from the bench and playing 12 minutes, like those days are done. So that was my takeaway. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
I wasn't paying attention to the bench with.
Oh no, I'm so nobody. That's my insanity.
That's fair. I just saying I can't speak on that, but yes, Obi was not so subtly saying that in terms of, hey, if Randall's still here, I'd love for us to, in terms of working together. And I think you could read that a number of ways. And you see games like tonight, it's just he's able to do what he knows he's able to do. That's really the bottom line. And the front office is now, like, I don't want to say this is a good problem to have, but it's not a bad problem to have, because I know that we are naturally down on Randall because of everything. But at the same time, if you are the front office, and yes, you should be choosing Obi Toppin over Julius Randle, you're still in a position where you've got two good power forwards, one who's on the up, one who you hope can. I don't know if I agree.
I
know you don't agree, and that's fine. I know you don't, but I'm just saying. You
have two talented power forwards.
Okay, I mean, talent is. Are you saying he's unimpressively talented?
I am saying that Julius Randle has let things get in the way of his talent this year, and I remain unconvinced that he will stop doing that at any point,
right?
In the future.
But saying that implies that there is talent there, which is my point.
Oh, for sure, he's talented. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So you have two good power forwards. I know you don't want to admit anything positive in a lot of ways.
No,
it's Julius.
It's not that to me.
Player. He this season shat the bed multiple times for several reasons that were infuriating.
Look, talk about infuriating. I'm about to sound like my spirit animal here. Good is when you help your team win the game, and Julius Randle has done everything but help his team win games this year. And to me, that means he was not a good basketball player this year. Let me say that. He was not a good basketball player this year.
But I'm not talking about this year. I'm saying, generally speaking, you are talking about a player. It's semantics at this point.
Yes, I understand.
But
look, they have a guy that teams could look at and be like, you know what? That guy maybe has something. Let's see what he's got. That's fair.
Right. Yeah. There are worse positions to be in than that.
That's very true. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kevin? Shout out to you for being around all year and chiming in. Hey there, John. How you doing? Thanks for your great season of Knicks content. I'm doing okay. You've gotten us past some Obi 9-minute games. Now we talk about him with 40. I have gotten us past some Obi 9-minute games. Man, there's a lot of what ifs. And hopefully they have some of those difficult conversations within the organization this summer. Jeremy E., thanks for the great content this season. Thank you for the contribution, Jeremy. Also, Obi is a very unique talent. I completely agree with that. I think the organization would be foolish not to trade Julius this offseason. Getting off that contract is value in and of itself.
I mean, just want to jump in.
Yeah.
Yes and no, because it also depends on the salary you get back and how it sets you up for the future. Because cap space isn't really the name of the game here per se, assuming the Knicks keep operating above the salary cap, which I expect them to do. So I understand in terms of like how Julius is viewed along with his contract, but I just like, to me, it's not quite as.
Yeah, but it's not about the money.
I know
for me.
It's the length as well. And
well, no,
it's the contract going to that player.
It's about the aura that he has over this team, which again, I know this is one of those things we disagree about. I'm more concerned about it than you. I don't know. I do think that they need to move on. That's one of my biggest, like, concern about the offseason is I don't think in the first staff meeting that they have together after they maybe take some time off, Leon Rose is like, all right, on the table for discussion today, do we need to move on from Julius Randle? Like that's not a conversation that's going to have. No, they may be open to trading him, and in which case it's like, well, if they're open to trading him, doesn't mean they're going to trade him. Like I don't know. But it's something I'm going to spend a lot of time thinking about. Fern Rodriguez says, hypothetical. You are Leon Rose and the phone rings and the Utah GM says, let's talk Donovan to New York. Then your assistant pauses you. I love this because this could happen on the other phone and says it's New Orleans. Let's talk Zion to New York. What do you do? And could that actually happen? I would go, my goodness, what would I do? I would probably go play lotto. I don't know. Could the Knicks get being involved in discussions about those two players this summer? Yeah, sure. I'm sure that's possible. I think he's asking like, which player do you go for first? I think it comes down to what the packages would look like. At the same time, like, I'm not 100% convinced that like it would make sense. I shouldn't say that. It always makes sense to get a superstar. I'm not. I wonder what the trades will look like this summer. That's all. I'm not sure either of them are going to be like easy trades that like definitively leave the organization in a much better place than they were the day before. At the same time, like some people would say in the NBA, you get a superstar and you worry about the rest later. So there's differing views.
I'll answer it by just saying, I think there is a greater chance than not that we as fans look at the roster at the end of this summer and can find that there's still a logjam of sorts or something to gripe about.
Yeah, that's probably fair. True Story Jay says, I'm going to make this short. Bye, Randall. I'll co-sign that. Kevin McEwen, what's going on, Kevin? Thanks for covering this team for the season. You and the whole crew made it a watchable experience. It was good to see the youngsters play. Obi and IQ are the future. Salute. A lot of Obi and IQ are the future tonight, and I love it.
Great.
And that's like I don't know. I don't want to spoil my column for either tomorrow or Tuesday, but like we've had seasons like this before where they did not win as many games as they would have liked. And like there were young players that we talked ourselves into as like, okay, there's some like kids here, you're going to moving forward, this and that. It was never anything like this. Never anything like this. This is not us drinking the Kool-Aid. Like there is legit. And again, I'm not saying that there's a Ja Morant on the roster. I'm sure I'm going to get shit for that because there are people who, think that like RJ is better than Ja Morant. Not quite there yet.
Well, but Benji will have your back. Don't worry.
I'm just saying, it is legitimate, like meaningful young talent. To the point where you do as an organization need to start making decisions based around like, holy shit, we have something here. We'll see if that's the direction they want to go. Dan Gottlieb, hey, John and Jeremy, been listening in this season and last, and just want to say thank you for all. Get a lot of thank yous. Thank you for the thank yous for all the time, effort, passion you bring to Knicks fandom. Realist of Knicks fans have a home at KFS. See you next season. Well, that means a lot to me. I'd like to think that we are in existence because real fans, whatever that means, the people that really do love this team and don't just like to, as you said, like to complain about it. That's what I think that's who I think I'd like to think we cater to. So, yeah, that's very nice to hear. Ready for another one from Robert Cross?
Always.
Is it fair and reasonable to say that IQ is the point guard of the future today? Is it a movie? It has to be a movie. Something about like the something of tomorrow today. That's probably been done many times. Andrew, if you could help me out here, I will lose my goddamn mind if he is not the starter day one next year. Hashtag 53 wins. It's back, baby. I would be shocked if IQ was the starter day one next year.
Prepare to potentially lose your mind.
Prepare to lose your mind.
I'm just being candid about it. I think there's a very real possibility that IQ is backing up someone. And depending on who the player is he's backing up, we can talk about it. But we'll also talk about that more this summer.
Is there... No, I'll save it for the... I was just going to add, is there anybody that you would even give like a 20%? Like if we were making a list of like the most likely starting point guards for the next season, I'm not going to ask you to make the list. Maybe we'll do it at some point. Maybe we won't. But like, would the number one person on that list have better than like 20% odds for you? I can't
Tough
even
to say without the first round happening.
I can't even think of a... Yeah, I can't even think of like who's my like. Honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind is like Brogdon. You know,
yeah,
Brunson. But would I give it like either of those guys a 20% chance? I'm not so sure. Anthony Sixto. Thanks, KFS crew, for a great season of coverage. The season was disappointing, but it made for plenty of great analysis, and the final stretch gave us a lot to be excited for in 2022-23. Hashtag 53 wins reboot. I love this. Thank you, Anthony, for always chiming in. Appreciate you. Kevin Wilson has a chat here. I'm going to read, and I think I might be seeing things, so I think I saw him again in a bit. Just wanted to add to the chorus of people thanking you guys for all the content and all these post games. Love watching the young guys. Thank you, Kevin. Jibo says, I've seen enough from IQ where I want to punt on looking for a point guard this summer. Is how a lot of the fan base is going to feel, and I don't blame them one bit. We ain't winning the chip next year anyways. Let's give him a full year to see if he can do close to what he's been doing the last 15 games. That's like, honestly, I think he verbalized what I've been thinking for a while now, which is that in an off season where there are no perfect options, the one we were texting about the possibility of a Julius for Brunson sign and trade over the weekend. Like, if you could get Julius off the team and bring Brunson on, I'm here for that. If you could get off Julius off the team and bring Malcolm Brogdon on, I think I'm here for that. I understand the injury concerns, and those are very real. So, like, I'm not saying there isn't a scenario where I could be happy with someone other than quickly starting, but like, at the very least, he should be someone that the Knicks pencil in for, like, okay, he's coming off the bench, but we're going to make him a 6 man of the year candidate, and he's going to play 30 plus minutes a night. Like Tyler Hero played this year. I don't have Tyler Hero's minutes in front of me. I'm assuming he played about 30 minutes a game though. But anyway, while I look that up, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the math on the Randall and Brunson thing. It gets wacky, as you know.
It's possible. It is possible with other people, with other pieces involved.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just going to read this out. 33, 24, 33, 42, 41, 28, 33, 38, 33, 40. Do you know what those numbers are?
No.
Those are the last 10 games in minutes played for Alec Burks. And
okay.
Correct. He said minutes. The point I'm getting at is you can still play Emmanuel Quickley 30 plus minutes a game and still involve a deal that ships Alec Burks out and puts a point guard in that spot. What I want at the end of the day is 48 minutes of point guard play.
Of competent point guard play, ideally.
And I would like for players to get the opportunity to play on and off the ball. Emmanuel Quickley can do that. Alex Burks can do that, but he's not a point guard.
And Brunson.
Brogdon can, but he's also injured quite frequently. And I guess the point is, for me, I don't trust Derrick Rose's health, and I don't trust Deuce McBride yet. And maybe next year things click for McBride. Maybe Rose finds some sort of serum that helps him regenerate, and he's perfectly healthy for 82 games. Realistically, I don't see it. And the way I look at it is, if you can take these pieces, or not just these three guys, but like any of the guys on the roster that we talk about, like, oh, they need to get the Ho, we got to get rid of them, whatever. If you can turn any of them, or a combination, into more point guard play, and then if you're at the point where you then need to make a larger trade down the line, you have salary filler and you have a player on that contract who is of value, that is everything. If we want to keep the end goal in sight, you got to create a situation where you can keep a lot of the pieces you want, but you have to give. And in order to give something, you have to have value in that too. And so for me, that is the kind of crux of why I want IQ to shine. I want him to get as many minutes as possible. I want him to play well because I know he will. But I also want this team to be in the best position it can be moving forward. And by adding talent to the roster, especially talent that can play the point guard position, that's everything. Just get as many surpluses of things, good things you can get, and then make these great trades that we want.
One, Hero averaged 32.6 minutes a game this year. He started 10 of 60 some odd games. Two, Tibbs has done the play a 6-man more minutes than the starter thing before. We haven't seen it on this team. Actually, no, we did see it last year with Derrick Rose. Three, Emmanuel Quickley is going to finish the season averaging a little over 23 minutes a game after averaging 19.4 last year. It would not be a crazy jump for him to get up to, at the very least, 27, 28 minutes, maybe a little bit higher. And number four, Andrew, you better scrub that Deuce comment from the record for Jeremy. Otherwise, he's going to lose his Knicks Twitter membership card. And we would not want that. Okay. Stromboli cool. Never thought I'd say this, but I think Obi is making an all-star game at some point. Trading Randall won't be easy, though. What do we do if we can't? Yeah, we talked about the Obi all-star thing before. I don't think it's crazy. As for trading Randall, what do we do if we can't? I mean, you Jesus Christ.
Well, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
When the Knicks had a log jam at the deadline, what did they do?
They stayed tight. So sat tight, whatever.
I'm not saying the Knicks should. I'm not saying they will. But we know that they have remained patient, viewing it as like, well, if we feel like we can do better at a later point, we'll figure it out. And the difference there is obviously, I want to clear things up. No, it's not a like situation. It is different. Yeah. Julius Randle, who is supposed to be the star of the team, who is not being the star and is very far below in the depth chart in terms of likability. You could almost say he's last. It's how you then.
It's like he's down here.
Right. And basically, if you're the Knicks and at that point, your hope is let's get a point guard in here. Let's get an off season where we can just hit reset and move forward. In my mind, it's not the best thing to do. I would very much like to move Julius Randle to clear the space for Obi Toppin, because it seems like we have reached a precipice and we have to, like, it's shit or get off the pot. We have to get off the pot here. Do something.
You're trying to be level-headed about this, which God knows I appreciate, and I love you for it. I have ceased the ability to be able to analyze the Randall situation. And I can't even answer, like, what do we do if we can't? Because here's the thing, like, you just brought up get a point guard, right? I don't think for 1 second anyone that they could realistically bring in to this team this summer at point guard is going to change how Randall plays. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the only
sell it, not exactly how they should do it.
I understand. And then you hopefully improve the product and but I don't know. I think he needs to go someplace where he is a definitive number 2 behind, or number 3 even, behind a guy or guys, and he just fundamentally changes kind of everything about how he goes about the game, because he's been the guy here for really 3 years. He was the guy the first year too, even though it was like him and Marcus Morris, like being the guy. I just don't think he's going to change. And it's about, like, okay, if he doesn't change, then he just has to be better. Can he be better? Yeah, he can be better. And even if he's better, like, I still wonder about the effect on Obi. I still wonder about the attitude in the locker room. I still wonder about other things, but we'll see. Lunas, Emirat, how, in both of your opinions, heading into next season, does Quick compare to Sexton, Brunson, and Brogdon? I wanted to sign one, but now I don't know. Quickly, maybe just as good. Brogdon, when healthy, is really good. That said, That just and Sexton 24-6, efficient 24-6 when he was healthy last season. I'm not willing to sit here right now and be like Emmanuel Quickley is definitively not as good as like any one of those guys. I really am not. Also, they can't sign Brogdon. They'd have to trade for Brogdon. Actually, they can't sign any of those guys because they don't have cap space. But so they'd have to do some things. But like anyway,
I'll just say to that, maybe, but also, again, what if you had Quickley and one of those players?
Yeah, and you like, and again,
it doesn't have to be an either. And I don't mean to just pick on this one question. Just in general, like it doesn't have to be an either or. It can be Quickley and bringing in someone who can handle. Yeah. Because also, what happens, God forbid, if something happens where Emmanuel Quickley has to miss time, and you're looking at what, right? Are we back to Alec Burks starting because Derrick Rose is not going to do it? Yeah. Are we putting Deuce McBride into the starting position when that happened very infrequently and it was only during COVID? There has to be more of a safety net in place in my mind.
I agree. The best theoretical fit for Emmanuel Quickley on an NBA roster long term is a 6-man who is capable of running your offense.
You're dead.
And what?
You're dead.
And running your offense with a like really, really like top like a Luka Doncic. Like that's the great thing about Quick, right? Is like if you have him, like that's the role Brunson plays now. I think Quick could play that role and potentially be even a little better. And Jalen Brunson's about to get paid, I don't know, 16, 18, $20 million. Like, I think Quickley has that in him. So, yes, I think very highly of Emmanuel Quickley. I just basically said I think he's a $16 to $18 million a year player. That's what he's going to be moving forward. I just don't know if, like, again, if you had your druthers and you could build your team out in any way you want, is like, penciling in Emmanuel Quickley, the starting point guard, the ideal way to do it. Now, that being said, I don't know that means I wouldn't want him as my starting point guard for next season. It just depends on what the alternative options are. So we'll see.
I just want to add more talent around Emmanuel Quickley. So he can be great. And so they can also be great because he's a great player.
We're still building around Emmanuel Quickley. Yeah. Casey Peanuts, going into next season, what 3-point volume and percentage is your benchmark for Obi? I'm thinking 34% on 3 attempts per game, but maybe that's greedy. The attempts per game, it's about, hi, Andrew, what's going on?
Check the chat. Like our Zoom chat.
Our Zoom chat? Okay, yeah. Cool. Yes.
10 minutes, bro. It's okay. We can read Casey Peanuts, and this will be the last chat before we take a break. You're good.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Sorry. I wasn't looking at the chat.
You're good. Casey Peanuts, thank you for your contribution. John, you can read the rest of the comment.
Going into the volume and attempts on the 3-point percentage and for Obi. It depends how many minutes he plays. If he plays 36 minutes or 30-ish minutes a game, I would say I want him to shoot like 4 or 5 threes a game, and I'll take 34%. Jeremy?
Sure. I'll agree with that.
Okay. Andrew, hello, sir.
Hi, John.
Sorry.
It's all right. No worries. We have to pause the show for a couple of minutes. For those of you watching live, thank you for watching live. We still have over 600 strong still in the chat right now, just under 600. So 568 live in the chat at the moment. But for those of you listening on the podcast, this is obviously part 2 that you're listening to. We have to pay some bills around here, and we need to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, one of our new sponsors, figures they show up now, known as Prize Picks. So you guys, we've done a Prize Picks pregame show before, but I'm going to share my screen and show you guys how Prize Picks works. So this is Prize Picks. This is the screen. Okay, I have shared. So it looks like this is all for the play-in if you wanted to take odds. So Darius Garland, if you want to take the over, you could. Kevin Durant, if you wanted to, you could. What are you guys liking in this so far?
We're looking at the odds for the Knicks. We're not looking at the odds for the Knicks play-in. Those will not be very good. For the Nets Cavs play-in, I was actually tracking. I wasn't able to watch it, but I was tracking the Nets Pacers game today in a game that, for anybody who doesn't know, the Nets desperately needed to win.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pacers were running up the score like it was like a preseason game. I don't think the Nets care to stop anyone. So looking at Darius Garland over under 23.5 points, that's an easy over. Evan Mobley, assuming he plays, right? We're assuming he plays. And that's the nice thing about prize picks. If a guy doesn't play, like, you're not going to lose your bet. They just take it off the board and you'll get your money back. Easy over 15.5 for me. Kevin Durant, they could make this one 40.5 points, and I would pick the over.
Okay.
Yeah, and go scroll down a little bit so we could see what Kyrie.
So Kyrie's 28.5 is the line for points. So Lauri Markkanen is 16.5. Andre Drummond is 11.5. There are other options if you want to go that route too.
I would feel very comfortable going over on Garland, Durant, Mobley, and Irving for points. I feel good about all of those. I don't know that I feel as strongly about Markkanen or Drummond just because of game flow.
So let's show everybody the full board. You can also go assists. Kyrie over 6, or the line is 6.5. So say you want to do Kyrie over 6.5. You also have Garland.
Give me Garland's over on assists too. Except we can't do both Garland over.
You can't do no. You can only choose one.
There you go. This is cool. We're explaining for the folks at home.
Now Drummond over 11.5 rebounds is the one I was thinking of. Now there's some 3-point options, but they're the three guys we've talked about so far. Another player might pop up the other on Tuesday night when the game happens. And then if you wanted to, you could go to baseball. And
which I know so much about.
Or you can go to hockey and go here. Another sport you know so much about.
I know who all those players are.
I'm scrolling to there's no Ranger here. Okay, never mind. But you could add another sport if you wanted to, like the line we did tonight. So go ahead.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong. But once the playoffs get in full swing, for anybody again who doesn't know how this works, you're only looking at Cavs Nets by itself because that's the only game that's going to be on that given night. Once there are more than one game in a day, which again, the NBA's opening playoff weekend, you're going to get 4 games Saturday, 4 games Sunday. You could go cross games and you could take
exactly. So like the reason there's no whatever the Western Conference first play-in game is odds available also is because the game isn't decided yet. There are currently games being played to decide. I think it's either we know what the games are. So those odds aren't available yet, but if you wanted to put,
they will be. Yeah.
If you wanted to add like whoever the Tuesday night Western Conference games are and take some overs unders there, you could do that as well. Let me just run through how our bets did tonight. I ran a little 5-pick flex play on the KFS.
You always go for the big.
I show everybody how you should do, but go big or go home. I know
I'm much more conservative. Give me my two or three.
Well,
player thing. You
would have hit on your 2 or 3. I'll tell you that much. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. So I took Obi Toppin over 20.5 points. Needless to say, that hit.
In the first half,
literally. Emmanuel Quickly over 7.5 assists.
Nice.
That hit. Alec Burks, this guy, I took over 6 rebounds. He had 6.
So you got to push.
Well, I have 2 more. So it's a push. Okay. So I basically have 2.5 to my credit right now.
Okay.
Then there's Evan Fournier, you infuriating mother effer. I took over 3 3-pointers.
I knew it was going to be 3.
and he had 2
it's too
in
bad
the game. And then I went cross sport. And Jeremy, you're welcome, by the way, because Aaron Judge was off to a slow start. And I figured I'd either take advantage of the slow start or use the Claudio jinx and go cross sport and help him kickstart his season. So I took under 1.5 hits plus walks. And Aaron Judge in his first 2 at bats, a single and a double. So I missed on that one as well.
Well, did you have anything against the Yankees tonight other than that?
No, it happened. I've been watching the game. What's the score?
I haven't. It's 4-3 Sox in the bottom of the 8th.
Okay. No, I mean, look, the Yankees have had a good weekend so far. It looks like they're the mini rally away.
Call them
from
trash.
Please. Oh, they're terrible. They're
Thank
horrible.
you.
They're gonna finish in last place.
Baseball. That's my comment.
Baseball. I know, John. You don't follow baseball.
Not anymore.
So this is all part of Prize Picks. We want to thank them for partnering with us. We're going to do a couple of these throughout the NBA playoffs as well. Don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com and use promo code Film School, or go to the App Store and download their award-winning app today. Again, that's promo code Film School, or download their award-winning app at the Prize Store today. You get an instant match up to $100 on your first deposit. Prize Picks, it's daily fantasy made easy. Okay, we have one other thing to talk about in paying the bills. You guys hungry?
I am not hungry because I had a wonderful meal earlier tonight, courtesy of our friends at HelloFresh. No, you got the wrong. I should have gotten my recipe. I had the ramen earlier tonight.
Okay, so I had the Old Bay buttered up chicken. My fiance made them for us last night.
Okay.
And this stuff is just amazing, and it's like so convenient too, because it gets sent right to your house. Your meals for the week are already prepared, or already like bought and sorted out, and all you have to do is do the quick work and prepare. It gives you the recipes so you can mix and match if you'd like to. The deal that they're offering us right now, you go to hellofresh.com/filmschool16 and use code filmschool16 and get up to 16 free meals. I believe that's over the course of a month. So it's up to 16 free meals on your first subscription. Listen, we were using this before they partnered with us for the season. So I obviously I'm a fan and will endorse it.
We were not using it. And then they sent me the free box, and we had, or like whatever we got, whatever the thing, they were like, here, they're your sponsor, try the food out. That's all it took, and it is the most exciting part of our week for dinner when we get these HelloFresh meals. I got it. That ramen was my wife even was like, and we live in like a nice area of Brooklyn where there's like a ton of ramen places around here. She's like, this is better than like most of the ramen that we get. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yes. Again, that's hellofresh.com/filmschool16. Use the promo code and get up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. All right, you guys may continue. Back to the super chat. I'll stick around though.
Yeah, stick around.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, we're gonna keep it moving along here. Of course, with Robert Cross, first time, long time. John, the Knicks have the best young talent in the NBA. I said it. Is Tibbs the best coach to help them get to the next level? Look, if I would, you're so good at this, Robert. You asked the questions that are arguably the most divisive amongst Knicks Twitter, because I think there was a segment, or just Knicks fandom, there was a segment of people who would say the best way you can raise young kids on an NBA roster is to instill good habits, because the talent, you can't as a coach change the talent. Like, the talent is what the talent is. You could either help instill good habits, or you could not help instill good habits. Now, another part of that is to foster that talent. And fostering talent, there are different approaches to that. Some would say play the kids more. Some would say play the kids just enough. Some would, and I think that's where the balance has been a little bit off this year. I still think Tibbs is okay to develop young players. I'm not going to say he's the best, but I think you're okay. I think your organization's in safe hands if he's the one developing your young talent. Jeremy, do you agree or disagree?
Safe hands.
Safe hands.
Maybe one hand might be safe while the other hand's trying to kill you.
That's a Jessica Alba movie, Idle Hands, where the guy's hand gets cut off or something.
Sure. Yeah. There's the yin and yang of Tibbs.
Yeah.
Where I think you could just look at him and say he is, in a lot of ways, the right coach for the right time. And you could also just say
the wrong coach for the wrong time.
The wrong coach in a lot of ways, period.
We've
talked about it enough where I feel like those who are listening to this know where we each stand on this.
They do.
The bottom line is I expect him to stay next year, and I would hope that the leash is shorter than it certainly was last year.
For what it's worth, take it with a grain of salt because you never know with this stuff. But for everything I understand, one guy who I could say, two guys who I could say unequivocally love Tibbs, RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly. So take that for what it's worth. AW Paradise, first super chat. Do you feel Redacted will be moved after this recent stretch from Obi? Ball moves crisp without a C+ level player who thinks he's an A+ level. Yeah, I think we've kind of answered that already. Do I think he will be moved? If you had to put a gun to my head right now, I would say I think I've shifted from like just under 50-50 to just over 50-50. I would say yes.
Okay. Yes, I would also say yes.
So we're in agreement. I hope we're right. Sean Ford, J Mac, I'd like to once again point out that Andrew made fun of me on the trade deadline show when I said Obi was the Knicks' 5th best player. Stares patiently. JK Andrew, congrats on your engagement. God, now this is twice that it's been brought up. I was saving this for the end, but I feel like I have to acknowledge it now.
We can do this now because she wants to go to bed, so this could actually go now if you'd like. All right,
we can?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, hold on. Before
go
you
ahead,
say
Jeremy.
anything,
go ahead, Jeremy.
Because I won this week, and I was fully prepared.
Oh, let's do game ball now. Let's do game ball now.
And I can read off the list of who is on this. Who are the nominees, right?
All right. Yes, we're doing game ball now. Go ahead.
It's Emmanuel Quickly and it's Alec Burks. And absent from this list, because he's a humble king who has now found his queen, is the one and only Andrew Claudio, who is not only an incredible producer, but an incredible friend to me, to us, to all. Andrew and I have known each other for a really long time. We had a podcast even before this. Shout out Nothing But Knicks. And I am so thrilled not only to continue working with Andrew, but just to continue interacting with him on a consistent basis. And I'm so thrilled for him and for Rosina. And I just couldn't be happier that all of this is happening. So, buddy, congratulations. The game ball goes right to you, my friend.
I'll just make a quick comment, which is that I, as someone who I consider myself that I have found true love, most people I see together, I'm like, these people are terrible together. They should break up. I've never thought that about you and Ro. I think you guys are great together, and you deserve each other. And I say that with the positive connotation. And two, I will ask you, how did it feel to say before, like referring to your fiance on air?
I've had to catch myself a lot the last like two
That's
days.
Gonna happen. It's gonna happen for a few weeks.
I mean, look, the reality of it. Well, first of all, look, thank you, Jeremy. You are quite literally family at this point. John, you as well. You're the big brother I always wanted. And to everybody,
sucks for you that I'm.
Yeah, I know. Not saying I love my big brother at all times, but you're the big brother that I've always. You were very instrumental throughout, like when I first met her and throughout this process. And I don't want this to get too self-involved because we are Knicks. We're talking about the Knicks, but I just want to just send a heartfelt thank you to everybody that has wished us luck and that has congratulated us. It's Friday was the best day of my life. Plain and simple. There you go. And it's only going to get topped whenever we decide to officially plan this wedding when we've come down from this high.
No, it won't. No, it won't. The engagement day is the better day.
You think the engagement day is better?
I said that to my. We were talking.
That is true. You did say that part.
My wife overheard me say this to you the other day, and I'm like, our engagement day was better than our, because we are fucking worried about all kinds of shit on your wedding day. The engagement day's great.
So there's less stress on that day.
I hope. I mean, listen, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
you'll both be there, so we'll see. I do want to do one thing.
Yes.
She doesn't want to be on camera. Babe, come here. I want to promote one thing if I can.
Please.
And it's going to be, this is the most self-serious part. I always put in the chat, get those lights up for blank. So all of you watching right now, and if you're listening to this, go to the YouTube channel and do me this favor and get those likes up for BAM! BAM!
If you're listening at home, we're looking at the engagement ring.
Bling, bling. That's right. I liked it, so I put a ring on it.
Bam!
There you go.
How does the lyric go? If you
like it, then you should have put a ring on it.
Yeah. I played at our wedding. I had a lot of fun dancing to it. That was great. Congratulations again, Andrew. This was fantastic.
Thank you very much, everybody.
As we stick around for a bit,
I'm staying. Believe me, I have
we're
to
an
edit
hour
this
in
later.
Ray, you can't leave.
I can't leave.
You can't leave. I want to watch that movie. Ray Rivera, defend Tibbs. This is an indictment on Tibbs. Again, give me actual basketball reasons why he should be here. Tibbs being so stubborn will never work. You want some basketball reasons why Tibbs should stick around? I'll give you two. One, as of today, which is the end of the regular season now, the Knicks finished this season with the 10th best defense in the NBA. The Knicks have how many above average NBA defenders? Maybe Quentin Grimes is rookie. Deuce McBride has some moments. He's rookie. RJ Barrett had some nice defensive moments. Probably Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is the above average NBA defender on the Knicks. And then a bunch of shitty defenders or decent defenders at best. This is a team that's been out of it realistically for weeks, and they've improved their defense over that time. They're going to finish. They did finish this season as far as net rating with a negative 0.4 point differential. So what that means, if you believe in Pythagorean wins, means they should have finished with a 500 record. They should have finished with 41 wins. Why did they finish with less than 41 wins? Because they blew it in a lot of close games, as Jeremy pointed out earlier. That's on Tibbs. But if you don't come into the game prepared, you cannot have a chance to win those games. Tibbs is still as good a coach as there is in the league at preparing his guys to play each and every single night. Doesn't matter whether you're a first-year player or a 15th-year player who's going to have you ready to play. He's going to put guys in positions to play well and to succeed. And I would say that rang true this year with two exceptions, Kemba Walker and Julius Randle. And I would posit to anyone who would say that what happened with those two players are the fault of Tom Thibodeau, to at least consider the fact that there may have been some outside forces which would influence how those players had some detrimental effects on the team, including Julius Randle himself basically refusing to do what is in the best interest of the team, which is a ship that I will go down on happily. He's still a good coach. He had a bad year. He made some really poor decisions. But the notion that the guy can't coach because you didn't get as many minutes of X player or Y player as you wanted, it's ridiculous. And listen, I know that's an unpopular opinion, but it's an opinion I feel very strongly about. And I think the numbers bear that out. I haven't my favorite stat. I haven't looked at it yet, but I'll end with this. I will say, I'm fairly certain that if you go up and you look at the Knicks net rating this year without Kemba Walker on the floor, and you compare it to their net rating last year without Derrick Rose on the floor, pretty sure this year's number is going to be a lot better. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of stats that could back up what I'm saying if you choose to look for them. That's all. Jeremy, you want to chime in before we move along?
I mean, the question was asking about what he does well. So we're all keenly aware of the inefficiency and inadequacy. So I feel like what you said, there's certainly some merit to it. Yeah. But I think also when you look at the offensive side of the ball, that's where people like myself get a little bit more concerned, because the offense just isn't good. And you could look at the personnel and you could say, well, it's because of this reason, that. And
you can look at the personnel, and then you could look at the personnel he had on the teams that, or the offensive ratings on the teams that he had all good offensive personnel on.
And more frequently than not, they weren't great.
He had some. I mean, the Minnesota year, fifth best offensive year
when he basically just had Jimmy Butler run ISO consistently.
It worked.
It did it because, like,
if you're the fifth best offense in the league, how does the fifth best offense in the league? Can you say it doesn't work?
Because I'm saying that Jimmy Butler was the reason why it worked, not necessarily Tom Thibodeau.
Go look at any great offense in any league, in the league in any year.
Okay, but
9 times out of 10, that offense is going to have a great isolation player.
The argument isn't like, hey, you need a great offensive player to be great. It's you should still be able to make do with what you have and do a better job and maximize the talent you have on the roster.
The
Knicks don't have a star. We're keenly, at least an established star right now. That is very much apparent. That also doesn't mean that there couldn't have been more to have been done to help work the offense and massage it better, because entering tonight, the Knicks had a top 15 net rating. I think they were like 14th from the games dating back to the All-Star game. And they were the only team that did not have a winning record. Now it's changed. They do. But entering tonight, they were at 500. They're
a 500 team. That's what the talent dictates.
But the point I'm making here is that even with the defense being as good as you're saying it was, especially since the All-Star break,
the numbers say it is. That's for the whole year, by the way, the
John,
10th rating.
I know that. I'm saying that the offensive side was pure shit for the fact that they couldn't even get better when the defense was what was holding them together. And I think a lot of it also comes down to this. You are someone who prioritizes defense maybe more so than offense.
Of course I do. It's the foundation of a basketball team.
That's great. But that's also not to say that people aren't more focused on the offensive side of it. And I think that you have to find someone who mixes the two better than what Tom Thibodeau is able to do.
You can, there's a lot of things you can fault Tom for this year. I think the first and foremost thing is not trusting his talented young players enough to play more minutes and to not be willing to try to experiment to hold Julius Randle accountable more. Again, those are two, and the Kemba thing just makes no sense, but I don't think that's on Tibbs. I think that was above his head.
But that's also passing the buck a little bit. No,
and I think the buck needs to be passed to this front office in a certain respect.
Sure, but
on some of these things,
he was but saying, "Oh, well, that's up to the front office." No, it was a coaching thing. Tibbs had, from what we understand, because there's nothing saying otherwise, that the front office does not intervene in terms of playing time. And then they finally did during the All-Star break, and they came to an agreement with Kemba. He went his separate ways. Noel was shut down for the rest of the season. Derrick Rose did not come back for the rest of the year. It was only until the Knicks were a broken team that the front office said, "You know what? We got to step in here." And why was it broken? Why was it broken? Because the players. What do you mean that we know of? We know that we have it in front of us. We've seen the games where Tibbs has played Taj Gibson.
No, I'm saying about the decision making. You're assuming about the decision making behind the scenes. So we just don't know the facts.
Do you think that the players on their own necessarily? Do you think Tibbs said, "Hey, front office, let's play these guys less"?
No. What I'm saying is that continuing to play Kemba the minutes that he got, to simplify that as that was just Tom Thibodeau deciding on his own to continue to play Kemba these minutes and continue starting him. I think that's an oversimplification of the likely facts.
I'm just saying that Kemba Walker was playing minutes and Tom Thibodeau's in charge of minutes.
I think Tom Thibodeau is part of a team of people. Look, I've
so he's part of a team of people, and he's the head coach, and he's the one who's making decisions. The front office brought the players in and assembled the roster. The rest seems to be up to Tibbs. Is that true or not?
I think to a certain extent it is, but the notion that it's Tibbs' call to bench Kemba a second time after the organization had egg on his face after it happened the first time, I'm not sure about that.
I just want to know. It feels like a classic overcorrection of, holy crap, we did something that was very bad and we shouldn't have done this, and it seems pretty impulsive by accounts, and now we have to get to a point where maybe we have to play him, because how many games did we see where, especially in the second half, where Kemba's out there and the Knicks start to lose a lead or a deficit gets ridiculous and Tibbs calls timeout, and then what does he do? What does he do after he calls timeout? Not only just keeps him, he keeps everyone in.
Yeah.
There was no leash for him.
It was a terrible job by him. It was a bad job by him. He did a poor job of coaching the team this season in many respects. But again, the notion that makes him a bad coach, or the notion that takes away other very material, real things that are important that people just want to brush off because they're frustrated, that's where I will never get off that hill. Because because again, you value what you value. I'm not saying you out there listening or watching, you value what you value. That's fine. But it doesn't give anybody the right to say these other things out there do not exist. You just don't value them as much as the things that you do value, which is fine. I guess
here's my question though, and we will never know, so it's a rhetorical one. Let's say Julius does not have the season he had last year. Okay. I'm very curious how we evaluate Tibbs, right? Because if Julius isn't as good as he was, then the Knicks aren't as good as they were. And if the Knicks aren't as good as they were, then we're basically looking at potentially 2 seasons, maybe.
But that's a big time domino effect, because if Julius didn't start off the year like he did, he's on the trade block, and they probably almost.
I mean, who's to say he's off? Who's to say he was ever off the trade block? Even when he was extended,
there was zero chance they were trading him after he started off like they did, and the team was competitive.
That's not what I'm saying, though, because they were not.
If your point is that Tibbs doesn't win Coach of the Year, he's not even in conversation for the Coach of the Year, I completely agree with that.
Okay, so let's stick with that then.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
But
that doesn't his Coach of the Year win last year doesn't.
They still go hand in hand. That's the point. Tibbs excels and Randall excels. Tibbs fails and Randall fails.
Yeah, and guess what? Go look at every coach that's had a successful season in the history of the league, and you look at their players, and you're like, oh shit, what a coincidence.
I mean, but I look at someone like Willie Green, whose team is in the playoffs, and how many games did they get out of Zion Williamson?
Oh, come on. That's what you're gonna go with?
You know what I'm saying? There are coaches that elevate their teams and pick them up. Even
the Knicks finished with more wins and a better net rating or the same net rating than the New Orleans Pelicans. And the Pelicans have Brandon Ingram, who was in definitely the All-Star conversation, on the fringes of the All-NBA conversation this year. Not to mention the fact that they have a bunch of other young talent and talent generally.
That got to play though. Like the young talent got to play in New Orleans.
No, they didn't. Look at Trey Murphy. He did not get to play, and people were very upset. You got Herb Jones that had a role.
Herb Jones played a really good role. Yeah,
and he's a good player.
And they went and traded for CJ McCollum. They had a ton of usage from Jonas Valanciunas, who does things that Mitchell Robinson can never dream of.
I understand, but you're talking about stars, right? You're talking about star talent, and they were missing their best player, and they still found a way to elevate themselves because Willie Green's a good coach.
Great. And if they had Zion Williamson, they would be expected to win 50 games.
I agree, but they didn't have Zion Williamson.
Yeah, and they won 36.
And they're in the playoffs.
They're not in the playoffs. They're in the play-in.
That's better than the Knicks have been.
But different conference.
Guys, come on. This is apples to oranges.
It's not apples to because the whole point still comes down to coaching in a lot of ways.
The whole point just comes down to
when Stan Van Gundy was there last year, great coach, doing things all right. That was the philosophy. That was a good hire for them. That didn't work out either.
Okay.
I'm just saying that.
I know what you're saying. It's the same thing that what people have been saying all year in different ways. Tibbs sucks. Fire him. He's awful. He doesn't know what.
But then
not what Jeremy's
missing what
saying.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not making my point as clear as.
And what bugs me the most is certain people, looking now for ways to be like, oh, this thing is going wrong. Well, that has to be on Tibbs too. So let's figure out a way to put that on Tibbs too, which is where the conversation has gotten to from people that just have no business from even being in the conversation because they're not well informed enough or they don't do the homework. But whatever, to each their own. All right. I saw this come in a while ago, really long while ago. We've been at it for a bit. Thank you so much to Will Stevens for your contribution. This is very generous. Thank you. ADW Paradise with our next Super Chat comment. Hopefully not about Tibbs. Management has off season to fix things or buy, right? I'd be very surprised if they moved on from management at any point in the next 12 months.
Sure. I mean, they're going to throw the coach under the bus if it comes to that before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would give it at least another year. CT Pittman, always a pleasure, my friend. What a roller coaster ride of a season. I don't envy the front office because they have some major decisions to make. CT, with all due respect, that is their job. Their job is to make major decisions. That is what they get paid a lot of money to do, and I'm sure they're very well compensated. Shouts out to the KFS for great content all season. Shout out to you as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, it is almost painfully obvious what needs to happen with this team moving forward. I'm not saying it'll be the easiest thing to get there, but for where they're at as an organization right now, I don't think it's that hard. I'll say that, but they may disagree. Christian Finnegan, thanks for all the great work and insight. Thank you, Christian. Hush Zoo, back with another one. Also, do you know any potential stories that might go into this offseason? I know you mentioned Randall and Tibbs aren't on the same page. In terms of like what might affect what they do this offseason. I don't know. I'm curious to hear what happens with Mitch. I'm curious to see what happens with Mitch and what comes out after Mitch either stays or leaves. I'm curious about that.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
That's the one player that I think is the most out of their control. So
yes,
I mean, just by the logic, if he's an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, by definition. Marcia Carousel, what the hell? My mom has contributed to the super chat.
Hey,
I didn't know my mom knew what YouTube was. And her contribution to the super chat is 35, which says to me that my mom does not know how to use YouTube.
Or it says to me that she's better at technology than you are.
Yeah, you're one. I'm guessing that whole thing is hereditary. That's
where I get it from. Maybe she was saying, maybe she's predicting 35 wins for next season.
I mean, same roster, same coach. That's about the same place they probably will be.
Not crazy. Jason A. With this draft class and having Perrin and Aller, there's no need to stress about lotto odds. Thank you guys for a great season. Thank you, Jason. I'm not stressing about them. Would I've liked to have the 7th or 8th best lotto odds? Yeah, sure. I would have liked it because it increases the chance of getting into the top 4. But I'm not stressing about it. No, I'm not stressing about it.
Would you have rather had, I'll throw this to both of you. Do you have rather had the last month of Knicks basketball where we got to see RJ take some leaps and quickly and Obi get some high usage? Or would you rather have the last month the Blazers have had?
Oh, the last month we've had.
Thank you.
Without question. Zero question.
Yeah. I think the one pushback would be, well, the Blazers have a superstar that's injured. But I still even again, their window is so weird to me because
I don't know if I'd want what they have.
And yeah.
Harry Donor, how do you weigh the desire to get Randall off this team and the fact that Obi will never get big minutes unless they do, with the high probability that you would be selling at his lowest value? My own answer to that question might be different from Jeremy's, which is that I think they cannot move forward as an organization until they get Randall off the team. And I don't believe his value will ever be. His value might get 10% higher than it is right now. But I think you'll find some team that's going to want him and give up a thing to get him. Might not be a great thing, but a thing. So to me, it's like it should be organizational priority number 1 to move him.
I do just want to be clear. I want to move him, and I feel as though the Knicks are now at the point where they do need to move him. The question I'm asking about the organization is if they feel comfortable enough to say, you know what, the offers out here are just so bad that we would honestly be making a mistake, and that the addition by subtraction logic, while it's understood, actually makes things worse in the event that you could even, rehabilitate his value. There's also a chance that you don't rehabilitate his value. But just to be abundantly clear, I very much would like to use Randall and take his salary and his contract and who he is, and just be able to ship him for something that can better help the Knicks. The question, of course, is what's the market going to be? And I believe there will be a team out there, as you're just saying. So
all it takes is one.
Right. It only takes one. I'm a little bit more relaxed when I come to it, because while there is some anxiety of what happens if he's still here, it's countered very much by, again, look at the free agent market, look at the players on the trade market. How many, we may not know who's on the block, but we know who's going to be a free agent. How does Randall stack up with a lot of these players? A lot of movement. I think we could think of a lot of 2-team trades, but the reality is that it's probably going to be more of a 3-team deal with Randall. Maybe it isn't. It doesn't have to.
Maybe.
But
might be. I could see it.
By including a 3rd or maybe even a 4th team, it just creates so much more chaos that it's harder to predict. And it could be there's a team that has a starting 4 where they wouldn't need Julius Randle, but then they're actually moving him out and getting other things, and it works for them. So it's just very hard to predict. But
Jeremy,
I'm not too.
Jeremy, you've harped on this a lot lately. It's not just the get rid of Randle movement is there, but what we see is not what other markets see. There's that clip from the Sacramento radio show about Julius Randle when they're ready to trade him for De'Aaron Fox. Mike Bassett hits us up all the time. Yeah. John, Randle for Brunson straight up. There are other markets. That's why I'll give a shout out to Chris, who in reaction to the Leon Rose interview pointed out a good point that the whole thing about Randle when he wants to be here, wants to be in New York. That was all spin to get his trade value up, which is why the line that really stood out to me was Leon framing it as one of 3 players in the NBA this year to average 20, 10, and 5, which is what you're pitching to another market when another team trades for him.
That's a great, just very quickly, Andrew, because that is a great point, and there's a great point by Chris as well. But you saying that got me thinking, I feel like there might be this idea that Leon Rose stepping in front of the camera was more about saving face for a bad season. Mm-hmm. But now I'm actually starting to think that it's getting in front of things to set the narrative straight for this summer, where it's like setting the stage of this is what we're trying to do and how we're trying to accomplish it, and trying to market what we're selling here. So like for me, I'm actually at some point going to go back and rewatch the interview, see if I can find anything. You laugh, but it's true. I know you're not saying it like in a malicious way, but like I vaguely remember, not vaguely, I remember when Phil Jackson stepped in front of cameras, and the first thought I know, but one of the first thoughts that I had when he did a press conference was the way he was talking about Robin Lopez, and I was like, he's going to trade Robin Lopez. He's like, there's no way that Rolo is staying here. I remember like saying that on the Knicks subreddit, and I got downvoted because people were like, no, it's not going to happen. And lo and behold, he traded Robin Lopez because of how he was talking about it. So yeah, I think a lot of it can just be like massaging things as a way to set the stage for this summer. And it's a really great point.
Also, I'd like to say that
we'll get there.
Russell Westbrook is one of 5 players in the NBA this season to average 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists.
Would you like to tell me how many times Russell Westbrook is going to get traded in his 4-year contract?
Oh, geez.
It'll be 5, right?
This will be 4.
Oh, okay.
Assuming he's not traded this offseason, then in the season.
And for anybody who thinks like that's me advocating to trade for Russell Westbrook, I'm just pointing out the absurdity of like you could say all kinds of numbers and they mean fuck nothing.
Right, but I'm happy that the Knicks president is saying those numbers.
Yes,
so
no.
I'm do that.
No disagreement. Yeah.
Yes.
Robert Cross with a 2 for here. He's going out with a bang, Robert Cross. 1, is it fair and reasonable to say that we could have done without the Leon Rose infomercial? I think Jeremy would disagree with you. No, I think we all felt it was something to do. That said, the beat reporters are all sending out their tweets right now, basically saying that Rose has denied their request for an actual media interview.
And I understand where they're coming from too. Yeah, that's their job.
I don't blame them one bit.
Here's my question. I'm very curious what they would have asked. And look, it could certainly be different, but what they would have asked that would have been so different from what Mike Green asked.
They could push back and ask a follow-up about Julius. That's the biggest thing. Or about Tibbs, even if you wanted to.
I understand the difference between being in front of MSG and being in front of the beat. I totally understand it.
It's different.
I think a lot of what he's talking about, they're overlapping themes.
Yeah, it's fine.
But it's their job and their livelihood. They want to be able to be in the room where it happens. But we also have more information than we did a few hours ago.
They would not get any more information out of him. They might make him look worse because he might be like, say something that does not come off great. And Robert Cross, the second one. Yeah. Is it fair and reasonable to say that GMAC's biggest success this year was nurturing Benji from erratic spot starter to consistent performer? I give a lot of the credit to Benji there.
Robert Cross. This is like your one blind spot. Benji's a genius. Benji's the most improved player, rookie of the year, arguably the MVP.
He's like
Knicks Film School because Benji does film breakdowns. Okay?
No, he's Wes Unseld, rookie of the year and MVP.
Deal. There you go.
Dan Gottlieb. Next season, I hope Obi and IQ start. Promise JB promotion. JB promotion.
Johnny Bryant.
Oh, Johnny Bryant promotion. Okay. Maybe we'll see. Package Randall with Burks, Noel, Fournier. Who would you like to package?
That's a whole roster right there.
That's
$60 million worth of
yeah.
I believe that's John Wall's last year.
There you go. Actually, that would be too expensive to get Wall.
Got to put Christian Wood in there.
Joke.
Unfortunately, I probably inspired an idea, but
RJ rookie maxed. Mitch Robb re-signed. Get Brunson, draft well. Dan's got the whole offseason figured out. Justin Richards. For next season, is there a way for the Knicks to have a starting lineup with Cam, IQ, RJ, Obi, and be a playoff team? I think no, but I wanted to ask.
You know my position.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the question?
IQ, Cam, RJ, and Obi, and a center. Is there a way for that team to be a playoff team? I mean, if they traded for Nikola Jokic, yes.
If they play every team without their 4 starters, and then it's game 82. Also,
I'm a little higher on what that group could do next year. I think the Cam part is tricky for me because we just haven't seen it yet.
I will just say, for every game we just had, for every Charlotte game that we saw in Charlotte, there's a Charlotte game at the Mecca. There's like a Hawk game there's a Cavalier game at the Mecca. Like, this team will still struggle. They will make youthful mistakes.
I think I said this last week and I'll say it again. If RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, and Emmanuel Quickley are your 3 best players, I don't think that team is winning more than 35 games next year. And I think 35 would probably be a little bit generous. That's me. But
then if you're adding Cam and a center,
and that's my point, is like Cam, like, does Cam come in and like blow up in his 4th year, or is he still in, like, I don't know.
I guess we'll never know.
If that center's Chet Holmgren,
in the sense, well, no, but even
I don't think Chet's walking right in and producing like that.
Right. Like, you need a center who's more established. Like, you're not going to have a young guy. Like, there just really aren't many centers who can step right in and be that guy.
Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. It was a joke. It was kidding.
All right.
Let's be like, what?
Let's move along. Emil Boumansor, thank you so much for your contribution. Shout out to is he down under? I think he's down under.
I think so.
Honestly, after losing D Rose, going 37-45 is not bad at all in my eyes. The season had more positives than negatives. Other than our 1-loss record, D Rose could have gotten him into the play-in, but who cares? The future is bright. Well, I think it's worth caring about because, you know, I don't know who you want to blame the most, but like the notion of relying so much on an older point guard, I think, was fraud. And that goes for the front office, and that goes for Tom Thibodeau. And the fact that Tom Thibodeau had a team that just completely imploded in close games because of who he put out on the floor. And yes, we could sit here and acknowledge that, yes, Derrick Rose would have been out there and Derrick Rose would have probably flipped, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 games, maybe more. And they're sitting here and they're in the play-in right now, and we'd be maybe having a different conversation about this team. I think that's a valid conversation. And obviously I support Tom, so I'm here for it. But at the same time, like, it doesn't give him an excuse to completely, like, you know, soil himself every time he had to coach the last 5 minutes of a close game. I'm not saying he's not the one out there on the floor, but he's the one putting the guys out there in the last 5 minutes. And like, those decisions were very bad, unequivocally. So yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about that.
I like Rose, but at the same time, how much can we, I know the Knicks relied on him last year, and I'm not saying they couldn't do it this year, but the Knicks also had Julius Randle playing like Julius Randle. And you could say that RJ was playing incredibly well, but it was more down the stretch later on. And I guess the question then is like, how much is Derrick Rose going to do to completely steer the ship back to the other direction? I don't think it's quite as much as it was the year before, because everything was breaking right for the Knicks as well. It wasn't just Rose, but he was a huge part of it.
Hold on. Again, I was referencing this before in our back and forth. Rose with the Knicks without Rose on the court last year, which was 3,300 minutes, a lot of minutes. They were negative 1.8 net rating. So they wouldn't, like, basically it's another way of saying the Knicks probably aren't making the playoffs or the play-in last year if they don't have Derrick Rose.
Sure. Yeah. But again, like, we're also looking at, there are a lot of things we could say, oh, well, this could have happened and this would have happened. Like, yeah. Again, it just, if you're relying on Derrick Rose at 33 years old, then you have larger issues that you're not talking about.
Oh, sorry. I stand corrected. That was this season. Last season without Derrick Rose, I have a feeling it's going to be closer to 0. Negative 0.3. So they probably would have made it last year without Rose. They were about a 500 team without Rose last year. And what'd they finish? 41
and 31. Yes.
Anyway, okay. We got one more from Robert Cross. Cutlet special. Is it aspirational to believe the Knicks will compile 51 wins next year?
Aspirational, man. I don't know
how to
that's,
answer that.
Yeah. Aspirational or inspirational? Was that it?
It was aspirational.
I mean, aspire whatever you want to be in life, Robert. That's my advice to you. And maybe to the Knicks. Hopefully they can do that too.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
By the way, yes, Emile Bonmansour is from Australia. I Googled what the AUD dollar is, and that's Australian dollars. I also got caught there. Everybody, when you get done with this, go watch Doc Rivers defending rotation decisions to the Philly media, which is apparently what you all want, like Leon Rose to do with like defending decisions to the media and how defensive he looks, you know. There's a video going around. I think he's arguing with Jackson Frank about how that is going to.
Was it Danny Green? Because I know that Danny Green and Harden,
it might have been,
and I think it might have been Tybal. Have not.
He was basically saying like when we play a small team, we play with this small roster, but when we play with a big team, we put DeAndre Jordan in at the 5 as well. And it was basically like he talked to him like, let me explain it slowly for all of you that are slow, which might not go over well. And he maybe apologized tomorrow.
Yeah, this is why sometimes less is more.
Oh, wait, Jeremy, we're criticizing a coach. Never mind.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Never mind.
Mm-hmm. He's right. I don't know what he said, but he's right.
What is Doc? What is? I mean, DeAndre Jordan, be taller.
Yeah.
Be shorter.
I don't even know what the context of this is.
Be better.
But he's right. Is all that matters. That's all that matters.
It's okay
NBA champion Doc Rivers.
Also,
it's okay.
He's a doctor. Are we really gonna say that?
Dr. Rivers.
Right.
What was I thinking about that? Dr.
Pepper.
I'm thinking about it because watching Winning Time. Dr. Jerry Buss.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, it's okay.
Go ahead.
It's okay to criticize a coach, but he's got to pay some respect too. That's all.
We do. We just called him an NBA champion. That's about to flame out with his third team in 5 years.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Oh wait, how long was he with the Clippers? Longer than that.
Whatever.
His third basketball team.
He has not had a lot of success since he won his championship with Tom Thibodeau.
That's the thing. I actually attribute his championship to defensive coordinator Tom Thibodeau.
Might be. Yeah. Matt, Aussie Knicks fan with 2 super chats. Thanks for the contribution. Obi dropping 42 and 10. IQ getting a career high 34-point triple-double is the perfect way to end the season. Feeling vindicated. Wish it happened earlier this year. The youth is the truth. And then one more. What was both your favorite moment of the year? The RJ buzzer beater along with tonight's games from Obi quickly would be mine. Favorite moment of the year.
RJ buzzer beater.
It's a close second for me. It's a very close second for me.
But see, the thing
What's
about
number
the RJ
one?
buzzer beater
beating the Miami Heat. The hold on, I'll say mine. Jeremy, finish yours.
Well, see, the thing about the RJ buzzer beater, it was I just going to school in Boston for college. I really, and just in general, I can't stand Boston sports. So I see them as an arch rival, but selfishly, the posterity factor of us watching the game in real time and having it recorded, and that was just a very cool moment. And I feel like kind of combining the fandom part of it and just like the personal experience of it too, it's number one. But I will say tonight was a, maybe this is recency bias perhaps, but like tonight was definitely up there.
So selfishly, that's my favorite like KFS moment of the year, other than the 1,000 references to the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Too soon.
Yeah, I that's easily my favorite experience as far as this job is concerned. You're on brand in beating Boston is the sweetest moment of the year. I'll stay on brand and beating Miami the way that we did is the sweetest moment of the year. I got to do the post game for that. If I can close a loop with some people, because I said that night, because there was very anti-Randall stuff, and I was like, I don't have it in me to be anti-Randall the way that some people are, because what he did last year is something that changed my life forever. And I said I would provide more context in 2 weeks. Now, you guys know this, and the patrons know this. So last year, early on, I noticed Julius Randle was having a good year. And I just looked up what his most improved player odds were, and I got him at extremely good odds. And I made a little wager. Before I knew it, he was the favorite. And let's just say I put my winnings down toward the rock that you guys saw in the live stream earlier. So without Julius Randle having the season he had last year, Friday night might not have been possible. And I will forever be grateful to him for that, as well as the experience of last season. Having said that, beating the Miami Heat and shoving Heat culture down their throats, even though they haven't lost a game since, was absolutely my favorite game of the season.
I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to go with the win at Atlanta on January 15th. It was our 8th win in 11 games. It got us to above 500. And I remember doing that post game. It felt like they were going to like go on their way. And the season was going to, the same thing that happened last year was going to happen this year, and that they were going to rebound and that they were going to finish strong and the whole thing. And then they won 1, 2, 3 of their next 20 games. So yeah, that's my number one.
You want to know why that happened, right? Because they beat Atlanta on a Saturday, and it was the first Saturday after the Cam trade. Yeah. And then the Monday was when Kemba came back.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They played one more game without Kemba, I think, against Charlotte, and then
Charlotte was the MLK Day game.
Yes. Did Kemba play in that game?
He might have come back the next game, but I remember that Charlotte game was the first time I thought.
He came back the next game. He was not. Okay. That's why I remember distinctly, because there was like a little bit, because it was like we were starting to talk about like, my God, there's no way that they're going to put Kemba back in the rotation. And then they looked at that MLK game was just like so ugly. You guys remember that game? It was just it was a terrible game. And then it was like it dulled the knife on the trying to cut against that. You're really going to bring Kemba back? So anyway, let's keep it moving. This is what a way to end it. Sam L. Thank you, John, Jeremy, Andrew, Chris, Ben, for a great season. Randall to Portland for Bledsoe, Winslow, and a future first or 2 seconds. Does it work? Works under the cap. I don't know if the Knicks are ready to salary dump Julius Randle for 2 seconds. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. Juan also Cruz.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Talking about like having someone starting or playing significant minutes. Seeing Bledsoe on the Knicks, my eyes might bleed out of my skull.
Yeah. Please don't ever let Bledsoe play a minute for the Knicks. Juan Cruz asks, is Cam a playmaking wing? In theory.
I hope so.
Yeah, right. That's what they traded for. That's what I hope they traded for. Dom Cappuccini asks, watching our young core running on all cylinders is exciting. I agree. Sometimes they look like a flashy hot car. I like that comp. The one thing they seem to be missing is a new engine. Thanks for the content this season. Salute. Yeah, engine would be good. But those things are hard to come by. We'll see if they can find one. Sheldon Gomes says some of those IQ outlet passes were incredibly high difficulty. He's really looked a part of a point guard in this stretch. I tried to point this out in a newsletter recently. Like, he can't do all of the things that typical NBA point guards could do, but he could do a lot of them. And the things that he does well, he does really well. And what the outlet passes you're talking about, like, we take those for granted. Those are fucking hard to throw and hit a guy on the move, like in stretch, like really good stuff from quickly. Matt with one more. Thank you, John, Jeremy. Oh no, I read that already. How did I not see that before? Was that twice? Was that
no? This is a different one. This is a different one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's got 3 in there. Thank you, Matt.
Oh, thank you, John, Jeremy, Andrew, Chris, Benji, and the rest of the KFS crew. You make being a Knicks fan amazing, informative, and fun. Can't wait for more. We can't wait for more. Need a little break, but can't wait for more. Definitely going to appreciate a little bit of a break. Emil Beaumont-Soren with another one. One more thing, being from Australia. it's hard to find under the Knicks fans. You guys make me feel truly like a New Yorker. I appreciate this platform and giving me an opportunity to connect with fans. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you to everybody who is saying thank you to us. I don't feel like worthy of the thanks because I feel like we're the lucky ones. But the fact that it makes other people happy is just, it's all personally that I could have ever wanted from this stuff.
I feel worthy, and you're welcome, everybody.
Brian Benjamin says, Brian Benjamin. Oh, I think I know where this is going. Obi now said he plays without fear. That's a soft shot at Tibbs. I completely agree with the shot at Tibbs, and a worthy one. It's one of the valid criticisms, very valid criticisms. The guy has a leash on Obi tighter than anyone on this team. Tibbs is on his last leg. I don't know about that last part about the leash being tighter than anyone on the team. I was waiting to bring it up, the Taj comparison that Tibbs made. What?
The Taj comparison, that the highest compliment he thinks he could pay somebody is Taj Gibson.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What?
I think Taj Gibson has never had the athleticism that Obi Toppin has.
No, but he specified. He's like, I'm not comparing the players. I'm comparing the effect that they have, like, and the work ethic and all of the other stuff that defines them. To me, that's not something he would say unless he meant it. And I think he may be dead wrong about this, but he believes what he is doing by Obi Toppin is God's work to try to bring the young player along. And that's why I disagree with, like, he has a tighter, like, actually, no, maybe I don't disagree with it. Maybe he does have a tighter leash on Obi than anybody, but I think he thinks that he's doing him a favor. And who knows? Maybe we'll look back and be like, you know what? Maybe
remember when Obi couldn't play over Julius Randle, that very inefficient season? Yeah, that may be what we're looking back on.
But it's one of those things where it's like, how can we know for sure? Like,
you're right. Like the results will play out, but for someone that likes to take someone at their word is what they're saying. To call Obi a backup quarterback,
just gonna say that,
and like to consistently do, like, the press conference that you think he was like telling all of us we're stupid because we don't know what we're watching. And yet the night that he actually played the kids and he feels the need to say, we still need Julius, we still need these other guys.
Yeah.
Like the one night you didn't play them, you came back against the number 1 seed in the East with the kids. Like, or maybe we're on to something that you hold on to veterans and play them too much.
Well said. I'm going to take a 45-second break after I read the next one because I need to take a 45-second break.
We'll continue. You're good.
For Jeremy, since I already know Macri's answer, would you be okay with Randle back next season if Tibbs commits to playing Obi 30-plus minutes a game?
Jeremy, would you?
If we're operating in that world, I'd certainly consider it more likely, yeah. But like,
so where are these minutes coming from?
That's the thing. Like, that would basically mean we have to have Julius Randle playing with Obi Toppin or playing 18 minutes. And he's not playing 18 minutes. And it's very clear that Tibbs doesn't like playing them together. Like, we're at a point where, again, like, they have to do something. We can't coexist with both of these guys on the roster. So you're either moving Obi to help you get a better talent elsewhere as part of a package, or you're moving Randle to do the same thing, but probably for less talent, but it depends on who's coming back and what else you're including, but they can't coexist. I just don't see a world when you consider everything about it. But sure, if we were in the world where like Obi is promised 30+ minutes and it means that we're seeing more Obi and Randle front court time, then, you know, I think there's something to be said of it, but I mean, I'm skeptical.
I agree. And this is where I'm going to throw John a bone. And it's like, it's not even that I don't see Tibbs playing them together to get Obi to 30+ minutes. I don't think Randle can be an effective player next to Obi Toppin in a world where both of them are playing 30+ minutes, you know, like I don't know that there is a coach that is like, oh, I see these two players and they're going to play together the majority of time. Definitely not with this coach though. Like philosophically, I don't think he can. I'll just keep going. Josh B. I'm willing to pull the trigger on a Sexton trade. Man after my own heart. Josh B. Thank you. I too, depends on the price. It is no longer Obi Toppin and Kevin Knox and one of the 2 first-round picks the Knicks had last year. The price has gone down. The price of the brick has gone down indeed. But I also would buy low on Colin Sexton. Who is he a restricted free agent yet?
I got a Sexton trade for you.
What is it?
But by the way, I was just like Tom Hanks when he walks into the locker room in a league of their own. It's a good thing Madonna wasn't timing me. I would be a sign and trade. And I think it would be something like, again, sign and trade. It's tough because it's base year compensation, and I think that applies to Sexton. But I could see a trade centered around the Knicks' first round pick, with obviously salary going back to, like, that's a player I could see the Knicks giving up their first in a sign and trade for.
Jeremy, what do you think?
I mean, it's a risk, right? Like, so the risk being that you hope Sexton and his knee are fine, but you don't have a ton of data in front of you because of the fact that you were hoping for this year to be the year where he breaks out. Now, it can either go very well or it could go sideways. The problem with involving the first round pick is that Cleveland would have to like the player you've drafted, and you can't really talk about it as much beforehand because that would be against the rules. So, like, maybe what you could like probably do a back channeling where it's like, hey, who do you like in this draft if we were to, like, you know, work out some sort of deal for a player currently on the roster? I'm sure they can find a way around it. But I'll say this because as someone who, as someone who is on board with doing the OB whatever, you know, Knox and first package for Sexton. Number one, I'm glad they did not do it. But number two, I think if anything, the lesson I've learned from that and to try to apply is that the passage of time, it can go the other way too, but like letting these players get better only helps your case moving forward. Like if you can accurately bet on the trajectory of these guys, then their value is only going to continue to improve. Because we went from, a lot of people, including myself, went from like Obi Toppin, the trade filler who you throw into a deal and try to work off of, to like Obi Toppin, the individual player who is blossoming and who you hope in year 3 can take a greater step. And I think that's just something to keep in mind alongside of like a lot of these trades where the passage of time is really helpful, and like maybe waiting to get a star is actually very beneficial to the Knicks, but more on that later.
Yeah. To just remind everybody what the conversation was when I went at it with John last summer, and when Jeremy did a whole cap or no cap, it wasn't that we doubt Obi's ability. It was solely centered around the fact that you just locked up Randall for 4 more years. Like, if you believe in Thibodeau's ability to develop, you might want to do it with someone that's not a backup, which, as he proved all season, he considers Obi Julius Randle's backup. And the conversation has changed because Julius Randle's just not that guy anymore. But now neither is Colin Sexton. His price tag has gone down, and hopefully, you know, maybe the Knicks do explore that.
I'll be curious to see what happens, and I'll be watching him as a potential. He might actually be my leader in the clubhouse for who I'd predict starts a point guard for the Knicks next year.
So what would the rest of the trade
Cleveland,
be?
Though, why are you trading him? That's my question.
If you're Cleveland,
because he's a restricted.
Because he wants to go.
Wants to go elsewhere. But he wants.
There are plenty of restricted free agents out there who want to go elsewhere. What difference does it make?
But if you're giving Garland I guess that's only him and Mobley, the only big contracts.
I think Kevin Love's contract is coming off the books after.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It is, but Garland's gonna get the max, and then like if you're, I don't know.
If you haven't, like, we're talking about a 6th man who's paid handsomely, and that's okay because they have money.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, so if you're Cleveland and you're only willing to pay him as a 6th man, and another team is willing to pay him as a starter, then I think that's where it could get dicey.
But they just agreed, like they took on Ricky Rubio, and he was making $17 million this year. You see what I'm saying? Like, even
but he was an expiring contract.
I understand that, but they also Like the implication I'm saying is that even with all of their money issues and whatnot in terms of having to pay people, they were totally fine with bringing in.
I'm not saying they definitely
and playing that same position.
Yeah. I'm not saying they definitely won't pay him. I'm just saying I could see a scenario where they are at least willing to listen to teams being like who want to offer something real for him. Sure. But again, it would depend on if they like what the Knicks have. Eric Norlander, thank you for your extraordinarily generous super chats. Really, truly. No comment in either of these.
So I actually do have his comment. He put he put it in the regular chat, and then he had the piece. He said, "Obi is the future. Thank you for a fun season." So,
Obi is the future. I agree. Mm-hmm. He's the present, actually. Ryan Huang, haven't watched the game yet, but it looks like I need to. Just wanted to say thanks for keeping me sane this season. Hyped for the cap or no caps. Our pleasure, and you should be hyped. They're going to be fun. SB Gorilla. Fry Ariza Lee. The Knicks let go. I really hope the Knicks keep Obi. The Knicks better not mess this up. I don't know why I have this gut feeling of the Knicks not securing Obi. I really hope that's not the case. Number one. It would not shock me if the Knicks traded Obi Toppin this summer.
The avalanche that will come if they do, though.
But it's always about why are you trading Obi Toppin and what's the return?
You understand the context, though. It's not like, yes, if they were to get like a star or something back for Obi and it's like a bigger trade, it's different. If they're trading Obi because they've committed to Julius and they're just like, we're now committing even more so to Julius, then the avalanche of frustration that will come.
I could see them talking. I don't even want to say talking themselves. Like, if you just ask like 100 NBA observers, people who cover the league, like, is Obi Toppin and Obi Toppin, the Dallas pick, and Nerlens Noel from Miles Turner, is that a fair trade on paper? I think most people would be like, yeah, it's fair on paper. Would I do it if I were the Knicks? Probably not. But I think that's a fair trade on paper.
So, Jeremy, think of the avalanche if that's the trade.
Yeah, no.
Do you disagree with me that most people would say that trade is a fair trade on paper? And then the Knicks immediately extend to. Actually, no. Maybe with the Turner injury, that changes things.
What I was going to say. Like, the guy he hasn't stayed healthy.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, I think it's fair on paper.
He has a year left on his contract.
Yeah.
Like,
also, if you saw his fit in Brooklyn tonight, I don't want to give that dude a bigger budget.
What?
He was wearing an interesting outfit tonight in Brooklyn against the Nets today, and it was just like, imagine that dude with a max contract.
To just be abundantly clear, I have no interest in doing that trade. I'm just trying to think of a scenario in which the Knicks could trade Obi Toppin and not get, as you said, Andrew, a quote unquote star back in return. Although Miles Turner, I think, thinks he's a star, which is another worrisome part. Mike,
shouldn't everyone think they're a star?
Sure, in their role. Be a star in your role. Mike Jameson, thanks for a great year, boys. Can't wait for next year. Such an exciting young core. Just got to hope the front office makes the right moves for the young guys. I think that's been the theme of tonight. Every post game has a theme. Tonight is like, we got the kids. The kids are good. Let's hope the front office prioritizes the kids, and that should be the theme after tonight. Dan Hidalgo, lots of things could have went better this year, but RJ quickly and Toppin taking leaps forward is something to be grateful for. Thanks, KFS. I really do need to look up when's the last time the Knicks had a core of players on rookie contracts that were this promising. To me, it's been
before the Melo trade.
That was Gallinari,
Wilson Chandler.
Gallinari and Chandler were your top two. And then who was the third best young player on the roster at that time?
You had David Lee.
David Lee was gone.
He was gone. He was
gone. I'm
talking
about like, no, I understand, but wasn't.
Oh, so like, you're saying Lee and Gallo and Chandler were all here at the same time?
So you're saying like
2010 season, right?
Yeah. So that the year before the LeBron free agency. Okay.
Right. And that was when David Lee did the sign and trade.
Right.
Like that was a time, and the Knicks had a piss poor record, and they basically tried to clear cap space, which if you compare now and then, the Knicks did not go out of their way to make bad deals for the sake of trying to create cap space to sign a Jalen Brunson type. They held on to these pieces, and we'll see if it works out for them. But that's a very clear shift in mentality. One, what screwed them over in the first place, and basically being like, hey, and they fell for it again in 2019, where they tried to move players out, gain cap space, put the cart ahead of the horse. And now it's to be determined, but it doesn't feel like they did that, at least.
I think even though Lee made an all-star team that last year, the 2009-2010 season, I don't ever remember anybody ever thinking that he had a ceiling as high as we seem to think RJ has.
I hear you. I'm saying if we're comparing young cores,
Yeah.
like I'm not saying this. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that
no,
core
I
was
understand
better
what
or
you're
anything. It's just like
Yeah.
if we take away that time, then we have to go back to the late 80s probably.
Yes, that's exactly.
So
that is when the possible answer is.
That's a little out of my comfort zone in terms of the team. But like, yes, you have Patrick Ewing and you have some other nice pieces around you. But let's also like there was a reason why Pat also was looking to leave. The Knicks were not building around him in the best way possible.
You could also, sorry, the next.
Yeah, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
No, they also they added Mozgov. Don't forget the Mozgov hype. They added Mozgov and Landry Fields the next year. So they lost Lee, but they had Mozgov, Fields. If you want to throw Tony Douglas in there, feel free. And then Gallo and Wilson Chandler. And Ronaldo Balkman was still on that team.
Again, I do not. That's why the question I was going to ask, Jeremy, I know you were just using that as an example, but do you think they're comparable as far as
no?
Yeah, like that's the closest we've had.
Like the closest we've gotten.
When's the next time? When's the last time? Yeah,
right. So like that is the last time that we've had players that were young that we have hyped up.
Yeah.
Deservedly or not.
That's gonna be an off-season article for me
because the other guys like we've hyped up the Ron Bakers of the world. We'll hype up anyone. But like in terms of like picking in the lottery, but then again, like you could look at, I mean, hell, I did it in 2018. It was like, yeah, well, you got Kristaps Porzingis and Frank Ntilikina and Kevin Knox, but that was all theoretical. A lot of that was if they hit their ceilings, and now it's like the Knicks are just hitting doubles after double or double after double, and it's like great, just keep churning out NBA rotation players, and the rest will fall into place. And also, if they have the ability to stretch it out into a triple or even inside the park home run, even better. That's great.
Love
stretch
the
it, baby.
Reference. Yeah.
I get that one. Jeremy E. Oh wait, no, hold on.
Knicks should go after Markelle Fultz. Is his
wait? Did I read Dan's comment?
Yes, that's the one you just read.
Yeah, Knicks should go after Markelle Fultz. That's gonna be a no from me, dog. But wow, what?
An American Idol reference in 2022.
I pull him out when isn't the show still on?
Not with him. Not with Randy Jackson.
Oh, is he not on the program anymore?
No,
he's not.
It's unfortunate.
Lionel Richie now.
Fultz.
I would be lying if I told you I've seen the show since like I was in high school.
I don't watch TV anymore.
Yeah.
Fultz, a little bit too many question marks. He's making a lot of money next year. I think he's making about $17 million. So he comes in and he looks pretty good, and then you're gonna pay him. It's not. We have a manual. I'd rather that's one of those where I just like start a manual quickly.
Other thing to consider just with Fultz is that he didn't want to be in New York. That was when he was drafted. It's cited in Euron Weitzman's Tanking to the Top.
Yep.
Unless that's changed, and I guess he's been in the spotlight. I think he seems to like a place that's a lot less hectic,
like
Orlando. So I just you got to want to be in a place that you're at as well for it to work. And I don't think he wants to be in New York, and I just don't think it's going to happen.
Kevin Lovett says, just want to donate to the cause. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you again, everybody, for doing this with the thanks. This is beyond generous. Love the content and don't care what anybody else says. I'm very excited for the outlook of this team. I think a lot of people are excited for the outlook of this team, as they should be. Oscar De Leon, I still like Tibbs with a shrug emoji. You don't have to shrug. You should give like what's a forceful emoji? Is there a fist?
I feel like that's
Jeremy.
where John went when he said, I need 45 seconds. I'll be right back. It was
he went to go write that. He's actually Oscar De Leon.
Oh, I'm Oscar De Leon.
Yeah. Okay. You still, okay. We get it. You still like Tibbs. Yes.
Let's go Knicks. Shout out to Obi. High IQ. High IQ. That's a really great. Is that nickname caught on? High IQ.
I don't.
What's the nickname?
It's a nickname for Emmanuel Quickly. High IQ.
By the way, speaking of nicknames, I get it, everybody. John and I spent 30 seconds on a podcast talking about.
I thought we did it justice.
We forgot about Penny Hardaway. We forgot about Pistol Pete. We forgot about The Dream. So
Okay.
guess what?
The Dream wasn't
Sign up for the Knicks Film School Patreon. We're going to be doing a nickname draft at some point with everybody at KFS, except Chris, because you got to, be old enough. But we're going to do a whole nickname draft. So that way we will just do the conversation justice. But if I have to hear one more person tell me you forgot X because we weren't thinking about doing a nickname,
it was off
conversation.
The cuff. It was
literally like, is Clyde the greatest nickname ever? And it's like Magic. And then I just went through the greatest players of all time and thinking of who it is. There.
Speaking of drafts, Andrew, do we have a final tally for our wins draft?
I do, and it's my producer corner. I got you at the end.
We'll get
you at the end.
Robert Cross. You're amazing.
First time, long time.
Is it fair and reasonable to say that Emmanuel Quickly will be the starting point guard for the East All-Stars within 3 years? Yes. Sure. Remember I said these were, if that happens, Robert, I will fly over to San Diego and I will buy you a beer. Happily. That'd be great. By the way, could you imagine, talk about criticism of Tibbs, can you imagine the how they would be burning, what do they burn in effigy? Burn his likeness in effigy? If he did what it seems like Jason Kidd did tonight, which was,
oh my gosh, I saw the alert. Go ahead, say it. Yeah,
so left Luka on the floor in a game that the Mavs were like blowing out the Spurs, and that they had decided, and like, did it matter for the Mavs? I guess it did matter. No, it didn't matter for the Mavs, I don't think. Or
there was a difference between the 4 Warriors, and the 5. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Whatever.
3 and 4. Right. We're 3 and 4. Yeah.
He got a calf strain. And as Tim McMahon just tweeted out, that's an injury that caused Rudy Gobert to miss 3.5 weeks with a mild calf strain earlier in the year. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
That's, for some reason, I haven't been getting Twitter updates tonight. It's like been disappearing. So I did not know about that till just now. But wow.
It's literally the RJ, why is he in the game outrage?
You know, it's also so crazy. I don't know. Again, this may have been tweeted. I don't know. But Luka Doncic was supposed to miss this game because he got his 16th technical foul.
Yeah.
And the NBA
it was tweeted about. Yeah, it was tweeted about. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. No, Jeremy, good. I mean, without Twitter, you're in touch with the conversation. Yeah.
Good job by you. Sean Ford, one more to say thank you for all the great years of work during a frustrating next season, or a great year of work. Hope we build around IQ, Obi, and RJ and can move off Randall. Also, really like Dyson Daniels in the draft. Let's go Knicks. Dyson Daniels, my understanding is he has pretty much become the consensus top G League guy in the draft. I can't say I watched a whole lot of G League basketball this year, but slated to go around when the Knicks pick, theoretically. It is very interesting that those two kind of like very typical Tibbsian centers are looking, not Dyson Daniels, but the Williams kid from Duke, and then Duren, who you've mentioned from Memphis, are probably both going to be there. It's going to be very interesting.
Duren might not. Yeah, like
Duren might not. Duren
might go top 10. Williams I think will be there.
Probably.
But then it goes back to the question, do they want to go that young with a center? That would be very ambitious for them to do.
I know. I would be surprised if they were starting a rookie at any position next year, unless they like move up in the draft. Drew P. Randall for Bledsoe, third string point guard, so IQ can start. Yeah, we talked about that one already. I don't know if that's going to happen. Stevens Guillaume had gigs today, missed the game, but I for sure wasn't going to miss the post game. You're the best, Stevens. Thank you. I wanted to thank you all for making the season a bearable one. Congratulations again, Andrew. Team KFS. Hashtag Team KFS. I like that hashtag.
Thank you, sir.
Robert Cross, first time, long time John. Can Cutlets do a brief electric slide to celebrate GMAC and the big news? I don't know that he has that kind of room.
Yeah, it's very tough with my rolling chair.
We'll do that on the next town hall, which I believe we're still doing next week, right?
I think we're doing it next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, this week. It's this like later this week.
Later
right?
this week. That's
either later this week or next week. For those who don't know what we're talking about, we do a town hall once a month with our Monroe and Ewing tier patrons over at the KFS Patreon. So it's just we kick back, shoot the shit, talk basketball, talk life. They knew about my plans to propose in December because I said it was my plans for 2022. So if you want that type of early access, if that matters to you, if you just want to hang out with like a bunch of dudes in this community that we've made, sign up for the KFS Patreon.
Or if you want to see Jeremy do an electric slide,
or if you want to see Jeremy do an electric slide,
somehow
that's probably worth the price of it.
I was gonna say that's the Taj tier again.
Knicks Film School somehow has a super chat in here. I don't know what that is.
I think that was Chris. Chris was in here earlier, and I'm not going to officially announce anything. You'll be hearing a lot from Chris Persianen in the not too distant future on this podcast feed. That is all I will tease for right now.
Good tease. Matt with another one. Are RJ, Obi, Quickly, and Grimes on the team the next time the Knicks win a championship? Shit, I sure hope so, because it means they'll still be in the league. He says, gosh, I hope so. Also, happy No More Noah Day. Yeah, I saw you. I saw that tweet that you forwarded to me. I retweeted it, Andrew, about Noah's off the books. I mean, let's answer the question this way. I mean, who the hell knows if they're going to win a championship? But like, will the team continue to like keep all four of those guys on and consider them like part of the core and actually be able to keep them as part of the core even after they do what they need to do, potentially, assuming they can do this, to acquire a star or stars? I would say it's highly unlikely that all four of those guys will still be on the roster if the Knicks build what you would think of as a championship core.
Yeah.
Jeremy's nodding glumly.
I mean, it just reminds me of Infinity War. Like,
what?
Well, no. When he pushes Gamora.
Oh, like you have to.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Like, I'm sorry, little one. Like, there's going to be a time, most likely, because there aren't so many Spurs and Warriors cores that exist, and you don't have to do anything about it.
I don't know why I have the image of Tibbs in all purple, and he's pushing like Obi off the mountain to get the Soul Stone.
Tibbs would.
I'm sorry, little one. You know.
I've got a question for you guys, actually, or I've got a knock joke.
What's up?
What?
Who's there?
Dormom.
Dormammu who?
Dormammu.
I've come to bargain.
From Doctor Strange, John? Dormammu.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
I loved it, Jeremy. I don't care if John's rolling his eyes at you. I loved it, Jeremy.
Okay.
Yes.
I forget that one.
You need to go rewatch Doctor Strange.
I need to go rewatch Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Dom Cappuccini, Knicks finished the year 10th in defensive efficiency in spite of Julius, Kemba, Evan, and early uneven play from our centers. If we can get a two-way point guard like Brogdon, good. Would that get us back into the playoffs? I mean, I don't know. I wonder. I don't know if they get Brogdon for like Randall. Can they get into the playoffs?
I don't see why not.
Probably. I think so.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just because I want to run something. The names were Randall, Kemba, and who else?
In spite of Julius, Kemba, and Evan, and early uneven play from our centers, which is not talked about enough. Like the centers were bad early on, especially Mitch, who's not good. So,
all right, with Julius, Kemba, and Evan off the floor, I just wanted to look at cleaning the glass quickly.
Oh, I could give you a guess. I mean, it's whatever the defensive efficiency is definitely better than the best team in the league.
So 1,817 possessions, right?
So about like 900 minutes, give or take.
Something like that. The defensive effort for points per possession was the 97th percentile.
What's the number? What's the defensive efficiency?
103.
Yeah, it's 2 or 3 points better than Boston's league leading total. Boston was 106.2, best in the league.
Yeah, and the offense was 60th percentile at 113.7, but the most played lineup I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise. It was only 173 possessions, but it was Rose, Quickly, Burks, Toppin, and Taj.
Yeah.
That was a key lineup.
There you go. Okay. Ed Paula. Look at the job Lou did with the Clippers without his studs. Tibbs is not a bad coach, but continued to press the same buttons, expecting something different. That's the argument. You look at Lou. You look at I think Cat's got a little trouble talking about Memphis's young core without Ja. But like
Malone.
Yeah, Mike Malone's a good one. Well, I mean, he did have a pretty good.
Right, but lost Murray for the whole year.
I think it's
Michael
different
Porter
when you
Jr.
have.
been out.
It's different when you have a guy like that.
It's but Russell Westbrook won the MVP and they were the 8th seed, I believe.
So they were also a 6. In fact, they won almost identical amount of games too.
Yeah.
Right.
The New Orleans coach comp you made. Yeah, the Willie Green.
I think that
that's the one you made earlier, Jeremy. That's
Taylor Jenkins.
But I think that
Taylor Jenkins as well.
John Morant's missed 22 games this year, something like that.
Well, we've talked about this. Like Tibbs is the only way he knows is to go to what he knows. He is that inflexibility is his greatest gift, and it is his greatest curse. And this year, it was probably more of a curse than a gift. So yeah, no disagreement there. Michael Miranda, knowing the price tag for Donovan Mitchell, we don't know the price tag for Donovan Mitchell. We don't know if there is a price tag on Donovan Mitchell because we don't know that he's going to be on the block anytime soon. And how OBIQ looked down the stretch. Would you do a deal for Mitchell for RJ and Julius and 2 firsts? Wow, he took that in a different direction.
Woo.
I don't want to answer that question.
Jeez, these chats.
I'm gonna plead.
I'm gonna be Homer Simpson backing into the. I'll be Homer backing into the bush.
So neither of you want to not answer this?
Oh no, I'm just.
I will answer it this way.
No, I'm not like. I was just trying to be a little less emphatic.
I'll say this: the Jazz don't do this.
You don't think the Jazz would be interested in that package at all? Randall, RJ, 2 firsts.
I don't think they would.
I think they need more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right, but there's like, how much more are we talking about here?
Because 2
and what
firsts
are we talking about? Are we like, if we're talking about the Mavs first and being one of them, I understand, but like
I don't think I just my 2 cents is I don't think Utah does the deal. I don't think it matters what the 2 picks are.
I mean, but I don't think the Knicks would do it either. So it works
out.
Maybe
they don't. I don't think the Knicks want to trade RJ, and I don't want to trade RJ, but I don't think that the Jazz do that deal. I did not expect that chat to go in that direction.
Jeez.
What?
No, this conversation came up in a post-game chat. Like, I don't even think it reached you, John, but it was just like the people in the chat arguing, like, would you trade RJ for Donovan, like in the Donovan Mitchell trade? Because then you could probably keep the rest of the young guys because RJ is a centerpiece. And the conversation has just moved from last summer, trading RJ for Dame to trading RJ for Donovan Mitchell. And I want to see what RJ Barrett does in a Knicks uniform. That is my take.
Yeah, that's my take too. That's
the entire thing.
Whether it's logical or not logical, I don't want to trade RJ Barrett. That's my answer. Robert Cross says, this is for Cullets. This is my list of starting point guards next year. IQ, get this done. I love his commitment to the bit. It's fantastic. And he's got another one in a second.
Yeah.
Lunas, Emirat. Sorry, late with this. I think IQ can be better than Maxey.
Maybe.
I don't think that's not. I haven't watched enough of Tyrese Maxey to play to speak intelligently on that. I know what Maxey's numbers are. I know they're good. I know he's done a nice job playing alongside those guys, but he seems like he's very much could be a good. I mean, we'll see if Tyrese Maxey's a good enough guy to be a number 3 on, and if they win it this year, and like he's essentially their number 3. Well, that says a lot about Tyrese Maxey. It means he's pretty good. But yeah, I think Quickly could be better than him. We'll see. Robert Cross with another one. The Knicks fan base will explode if Obi is traded. Yes. Yeah. As they should. Lunas with one more. They trade Obi before Jules. You could find me in the Hudson. I love it. Julius Randle trade. This from Johnny Chiba. What's going on, Johnny?
What up, Johnny?
Good to hear from you. Julius Randle trade, addition by subtraction. Obi equals S5 PF.
Starting five
power forward. Thank you. All kids are key personnel. RJ, I love these hieroglyphics. RJ, Deuce, Grimes, Cam, Sims are bright future. Brunson, Brogdon, or Sexton. Who's most feasible trade for Randall, and who's the best fit? Thanks for the content analysis and laughs. Hashtag KOC.
You missed. Did you get the beginning part right? So the ball and the dinosaur.
I didn't get the dinosaur. Didn't appear for me. It just looks like a little box.
Okay. Okay. You said I think that's supposed to be a raptor, and that's sub ball traction. I don't know. Johnny, thank you for the creativity in your comment. Everybody on YouTube knows what we're talking about. Everybody on the podcast has no idea what we're talking about. He used emojis instead of words, but I appreciate it.
As for the most feasible of those three names to trade Randall for, I don't think it's discounting 3 and 4 team constructions. If we're just talking about the 3 teams you mentioned who employ Colin Sexton, Malcolm Brogdon, Jalen Brunson, and it would need to be a sign and trade for 2 of those. I don't think the Cavs have any interest in Julius Randle because they have a pretty good starting front court right now. I think the team that would have the most interest is Dallas on paper. So I will go with Brunson.
Interesting. I was going to say Brogdon just because you avoid the sign and trade issues.
True.
It's just a straight swap. Not say it's tougher, but not say it's impossible. But it's just a cleaner trade, and you don't have to. You could do it on draft night. You don't have to wait until after, if that's what you want.
Good call. Todd Rulich. I hope I got that right. Guys, listen to you a lot the last 3 years. Thank you for all the content that you put out there, man. Thank you. First time, long time. You are in my headphones anytime I have to go anywhere. FKP the Snake. What a great way to end the year. We got to fuck KP. That's a fantastic way to go out. Jaden, and thank you, Todd, very much. Jaden Evans, thoughts on going all in on rim protection? I was wondering when we're going to get one of these. And going after Gobert instead of Donovan Mitchell. We would have the defensive personnel, unlike the Jazz. I will just say that if the Knicks employed Rudy Gobert, they would have
zero chance.
I think it's zero chance, but I think they would have the best or the second best defense in the NBA.
First to 85.
Listen, Rudy Gobert is he's not the offensive rebounder that Mitch is, although he's not bad. He's a better offensive player than Mitch, for sure. He could do stuff that doesn't involve, the 2 things that Mitch could do.
Jimmy, I'll let you take this one.
30 years old.
I'm just saying. I'm responding to Andrew's first to 85. Like there's a reason the Jazz are the best offense in the league, or the second best offense in the league, whatever they are,
and
for several years.
Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, Bogdanovich.
I think they actually
Jordan Clarkson.
I think they utilize Rudy pretty well. And look, it's not going to happen.
But they don't call plays for him. It's not like they create for Rudy Gobert. It's not like he creates for himself. It's a lot of putbacks.
That is fine. I'm just saying they've designed an offense in which he is a pretty important cog that gets them to their high point total.
If you're telling me that they created a better offense that helps him, yes. And I don't trust. I'm not even all out on Tibbs. I don't trust him to create the offense that will best utilize him. What I do trust, as you were hinting at, is they would have the best defense in the league. He would salivate it. Like, I get this guy as my rim protector. Like, yes, this would be Tibbs' best center ever. Like, defensive center ever, I should say.
I mean, Joakim Noah was
pretty
damn good.
That's why I said defensive. I think Gobert's ceiling is higher than Joakim Noah's ceiling, but the other option is Cat, who I think is better offensively than a couple centers ever.
We're not going to do a cap or no cap on this because it's just 0% chance that it happens. But from a theoretical basketball perspective, the notion of trading for, and he might have one of the 5 worst contracts in the NBA. Paying that guy, can you imagine paying that guy $40 million a year when he's 35 years old or whatever he is.
He's making $46.7 million.
Thank you. Yes.
Final year.
It is
when he's like 34.
It is heinous, the contract. That said, from a purely theoretical basketball perspective, I just want to make this clear. I am intrigued by the notion of like, if they built a trade around Randall and included more salary for Gobert, like, is there a way the Knicks could like, what is the feasible finish line look like there within reason? That's all. I just want to say that.
I dig it.
Robert Cross, GMAC. How do I sponsor KFS? I mean, you're sponsoring it right now. Yeah. I wanted to do a Start IQ promotion all off season. Let's make it happen. Robert, you've made it happen. It is happening right now. You're doing it. You're doing it, my friend. You're doing it.
Be the change you wish to see in the world.
There you go. Mark Ham. Shout out to Mark Ham across the pond over in Germany. Don't Knicks fans just once a season deserve to see the lead decision maker in the organization field questions from KFS? Who's the one person in the organization you'd want to interview, Jeremy?
Oh, say it.
Easy one.
It's Aller?
Of course.
Yeah. Andrew?
I get to speak my love language with someone. It's definitely Brock.
Okay. Andrew?
Tibbs.
You would want to interview Tibbs?
Yes, I would I would just do the impersonation back to him. We'd be the Spider-Man meme.
I was thinking, like, I know you're going to do his voice, but please tell me you're at least going to mimic his every. Perfect.
Of course. Every word he responds back.
Thank you.
Yes. There are also some like hard-hitting questions that I don't feel get asked sometimes, but you don't want to strain a relationship with the access you have,
I'd pick Wes.
It's a good one.
Because if he has to sit there and like, at the very least, he has to sit there and listen to me ask him questions. I'll get.
So Wes, why did you call for my boy's job midway through the season? Huh? Why, Worldwide Wesley?
Would not ask him.
Wes, I didn't recognize you with a shirt on.
Another. Jesus Christ. I just thought of a JFK joke. Robert Cross.
Just say it.
Now you have to say it, John. Oh, we are approaching midnight.
I didn't recognize you without your head blown out.
Oh my God. Jesus. Jeremy's head worse.
Jeremy's head worse.
JFK.
Yes. Robert Cross, last super chat.
Is it the last one?
Well, yeah, because Mark Ham went, and then Robert Cross.
Robert Cross, mark my words. The Knicks need to develop around these kids. They are the best in the NBA. Any other tact will be a huge blunder. Listen, first of all, Robert, like, seriously, thank you. Mm-hmm. Your generosity is like astounding. I think that there is something to the notion that the Knicks have a good enough young core where the organization at least have to have a real conversation around pivoting from whatever they thought their plans were going to be this summer. And like Jeremy has done a very good job of alluding to A, what those plans are likely to be, and B, more importantly, why they are likely to be them. And like, I'm not in disagreement about any of that, but I do share your opinion of the fact that like they've shown something real. And I get that it's Jeremy, I'm sure will say you could have your cake and eat it too, right? I don't know. I don't know. You could lean into the kids to varying degrees. And I hope they have a conversation at the very least, just have a conversation about like how much can we reasonably lean into these kids.
I think the one great thing is that the Knicks are in a position where they have too much young talent and too many future assets, and they need to start figuring out a way to sift through them. And that's again, like I was saying with Randall and Obi, like it's still a good position to have. Even I understand that, people may disagree on the Randall part, but in terms like we're talking about, yes, there are a lot of veterans, but they're not going to take all of the veterans away, and it's just going to be the kids. They're going to have some kids there, and maybe they Anakin some of them and get a star in the Star Wars. So I don't know.
Did you get that? Anakin, some of them.
I used Anakin as a verb.
That's Anakin in the third movie, Revenge of the Sith. When he walks in with the lightsaber with
I know.
Kids. Yes,
I know.
Just making sure everybody got the
meanwhile, Robert Cross just dropped another one. Best young core we've had since I started watching the Knicks, and Sidney Green. Now, Sidney Green is not a player. I'm going to just admit it. It's not a player I'm terribly familiar with. I just looked it up. Robert, you spelled him wrong. It's Sidney. And Sidney Green did indeed play for the Knicks. He was not drafted by the Knicks. He played. Went to Thomas Jefferson in Brooklyn, by the way, and 5th overall pick by the Bulls in the 1983 draft. He came to the Knicks in the late 80s, and he spent 2 seasons here. Seems like he was fine. So I'm glad we got a Sidney Green reference on the show. I'll just say that.
You guys ready to give out a detention for the year?
Hold on. One last one for Robert Cross.
No, really?
I don't want to hear Cutlets get all pragmatic on me and trading away young kids for a star. IQ, Obi, and RJ are all-stars. Do not do it. Listen, Robert, it's the one-man campaign. You've made yourself known. Mm-hmm. All right. Detentions for the year. I think all 3 of us should hand these out.
Jeremy, go first. This is also very obvious who all 3 of us are giving it to, though, I think.
Yeah, but I'm going to give it to Julius Randle.
Whoa!
What?
Okay. Wow.
I am.
Look, I just thought we were going on brand. I agree with you. He would have been
the
mine.
reason I'm not going on brand is because I kind of wanted to steal it from John.
Okay.
Because I knew the direction he would naturally go in. I mean, Julius Randle he played 1 game the week prior and was still the Julius Randle's detention award for Julius Randle. So, look, again, I like the one thing that I am trying to figure out. I think a lot of questions I have in general, but one of the most burning questions for me is what moment did Julius start to say that, like, when did it snap differently? When did the light switch change? Because you go from him writing love letters in the Players Tribune and talking about Tibbs and how important Tibbs was and the team and all of this. And then suddenly it's not just the play, it's the effort. Because for fans, it hasn't necessarily been the play. I mean, that's a part of it, of course, but it's so much of it being the effort. And I don't know if it was basically a lot of the moments of like, hey, well, let's sorry, I lost my train of thought because I realized I might have lost my Duolingo streak. Not great if it's the case. Whatever.
That's upsetting.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But anyways, this thought of like, okay, well, with Randall, was it the let's go Obi chance, or we want Obi? Was it another moment? What exactly was the case? I'd love to know. But there just have been bad vibes all around. Poor play, poor effort. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating.
It's the biggest question of the year for me. Like way more than any Tibbs frustrations or any, front office decisions. What happened to Julius Randle? That's the number one question.
My turn?
Yeah.
I'll give it to Tibbs.
There you go.
I'll give it to Tibbs because I want to make it clear, like me consistently saying that he has done a bad job this year and that this has been his worst year coaching. I mean it. He's not done a good job this year. This has been his worst year coaching. I can't sit here. Unlike the difference between me and other people is I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to pull out lineup stats and like any stats really and use that stuff as evidence as to why I know I could sit here and I know for a fact that Thibodeau like could have done X, Y, or Z better, because I still believe what I said on this podcast 3 months ago, which is that I'm not behind closed doors. I don't have the access to the information he has. I don't see what he sees. So that's why I've been hesitant to do that. And I continue to say he's a good coach at heart because I think he does things that are very good. But this year spiraled out of control. And let's not pretend for a second like it didn't. It absolutely spiraled out of control. And as a head coach, far more than X's and O's and rotations and this and that, You are a manager of people. You are a steerer of the ship. And if the ship goes down, you have to take accountability for that. And he did not do a good job of making sure that didn't happen. And again, I can't sit here and be like, I know you should have done this, that, or the other thing differently, because I ain't that smart and I'm not qualified. But if you're an NBA head coach, coming off of last year and all those good vibes, I think you had to figure out some way, shape, or form to not have this thing get out of control. And he didn't do that. And it's a bad job by him. So detention.
I think those are the two obvious candidates. I've hinted that the front office is like, I have a lot of frustrations with them. Why did you trade for Cam Reddish if you weren't going to like force the coach to play him? The idea that like we're leaving all decisions to Tibbs when clearly he needs to have some things taken away from him in order to put this team not in the best position to win, but it's maybe somebody has to step in and be like, hey, we'd like to see Obi Toppin play more. And that didn't happen earlier. Whatever happened that you're alluding to with Kemba Walker, John, if that is a front office decision, then that falls on them. And look, I didn't have many problems with what they did before this season. Like going into this year, I thought like, this is, you can say that they did enough going into the season. And then during the year, the inactivity is what frustrated me the most out of anything else. And not
as it should,
like not forcing Tibbs' hand at a certain point. Look, I am siding with Jeremy more so than not on like more frustrations with Tibbs, but I also don't like, I was never on the fire Tibbs bandwagon. I was never in that corner because I do think there is a fun version of this team last year if you take some of the toys that he likes to play with away from him. And I wouldn't like, I don't mind if like RJ is playing high usage, like but we saw the last two games with Obi. Like I'm all for it, which is why I need the front office. If you're going to keep the coach, give him a roster that is like watchable and has like a long-term high ceiling. And I guess it's towards the very bottom of the list of like in order. I think we went correctly in who gets the detentions. If you're going percentage wise, it's Julius Tibbs and the front office, and the percentages are different. But yeah, I think, you know, that's going into the off season and then into next season. There's some questions that all three need to answer.
Well said all around.
Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost.
There you go.
Also, my streak froze, so we're okay.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Had to do it quick.
Let's want to do some quick play-in predictions.
So just to recap again, for those who didn't catch the beginning of the show 3 hours ago.
3 hours ago.
This is normally this is when we do our predictions segment, and because Tibbs finally was forced to play the kids, Jeremy comes away with the championship, the title of best predictor of weekly Knicks games. He finishes at 12-11. John goes 11-12 after a valiant comeback on a 5-game winning streak. And I actually thought this worked out pretty perfectly. It did, in a very self-involved way, to say that this came down to the wire for our show. And it was literally the final quarter, 73-72. And it's like, I actually care about what the last quarter of this meaningless Knicks game is.
It was good.
So yeah, go ahead. Play-in predictions. The 4 matchups. Go ahead.
By the way, good timing to just catch our last super chat here. I think Robert Cross asked if we were going to do a
playback with the playoffs. And
we'll do playback for playoffs at some point or at a few points over the course of the playoffs. I'm not sure if it's going to be this week for the play-in, but we'll definitely do some stuff. And then and then Kevin Danishevsky just chimed in. He can't believe that we're still live. Insanity KFS is the best.
Yankees lost. Yankees won.
I wasn't following. They
put the score in the chat.
They lost.
4-3. They lost. Okay,
they lost. That's too bad. Okay. Play-in. I will go. Let's go.
Well, excuse me. Who won?
Yeah, let's I know you had a taste of winning for a little bit, but
Jeremy goes first.
I get to go first on this one.
Oh, wait, no, that's not fair. I don't want to pick differently from you.
But you lost.
How is this week in the spirit of Passover? How is this week different from all other weeks?
Okay, Jeremy, you're the champ, so you can go first. But I don't.
Yeah,
we're
but
not doing like a prediction segment and continuing.
So then, what is? How are we going about this?
No, because if you pick Brooklyn,
saying
I'm not
general predictions.
All right.
Yeah. We're not.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Because then someone's gonna get stuck picking the Spurs or the Pelicans.
Yeah, I don't do it. All right.
You know?
So, Jeremy, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Just what do you think will happen in the play-in? I think is the spirit here.
I'm gonna go bold and brash because I just would enjoy seeing it, but I'm gonna have the Cavs coming away with it.
Okay.
There's no stakes. There's no stakes.
There's no stakes, so you might as well
say anything.
Okay. All right. Wow.
I think the Nets. I think the Cavs will give a fighting effort, but I think the Nets will win that game. And then, do we want to do the other ones too, and like keep playing all the way through?
That wasn't just predict the Nets game. Predict
okay,
the
so then
Hawks.
so you're taking the Hawks. I will take. Man, I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about this game. I think this will be a good game.
This is Charlotte against Atlanta.
Charlotte against Atlanta in Atlanta. I'll go Atlanta.
All right, and then Jeremy, Brooklyn against. You said Charlotte.
No,
right?
Cleveland against Atlanta.
You said so Cleveland.
Oh no, yeah, that's right.
Jeremy
so
picked Cleveland to win.
Yeah, sorry.
So then Brooklyn against who? Jeremy.
At Brooklyn against Atlanta.
Atlanta, and then who wins? And you take Brooklyn.
He says
Brooklyn will be
okay.
the 8th seed, and then John, Cleveland against Atlanta.
With Cleveland hosting. I like that game too. I think Cleveland they'll be feisty. I'll go Atlanta.
Okay.
Go Atlanta.
Western Conference. Minnesota Clippers. Jeremy. Clippers.
I say Clippers even with a good friend who is a Minnesota fan who's terrified because the Clippers just have their number. So I'll go Clippers.
And then John?
Minnesota's been playing really well since the All-Star break and even before that, but the Clippers are back and just so much institutional memory. I'll go Clippers.
And then the poo-poo platter. Pelicans against the poo-poo platter. San Antonio against New Orleans. Two teams with worse records than the New York Knicks.
I'm going to say Pelicans.
Okay.
I will say... I'll say Pelicans.
Okay. And then...
Both of us have the same matchup. Minnesota versus New Orleans.
Minnesota, New Orleans. And Jeremy?
See, part of me is now pulling for New Orleans because it would mean that they move out and the Knicks should shift down.
Oh, yeah, because then, you should root for that.
But Minnesota's just been really good. And I don't see them losing 2 games at home in a row, so I'm going to go with Minnesota.
Same, John?
I'm going to go with New Orleans.
Jeez, Minnesota, after all this, misses the playoffs?
Yes,
it's possible.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
All right. And on that note,
so one last thing before. Well, okay. Lunas and Murad, thank you for your contribution in your super chat. Ask Green Room return this offseason or staying town halls. Green Room has come and gone for us. I'm not saying there may not be an emergency reason for us to use it at some point, but we have kind of switched to YouTube Live as our form of communication. We have had a discussion about upon utilizing Twitter Spaces at some point, but we have no plan to do so. But things can change fast in the KFS world.
Life comes at you fast.
Yes. And then last but not least, I'm actually going to do this. This is a Patreon perk, but I'm going to share with everybody for Producer's Corner our wins drafts final standings. So for those who don't know what the wins draft is, at the beginning of the year on Patreon, John, Jeremy, Chris, and myself, we did a wins draft in which we each drafted 7 NBA teams, and with the idea that we're trying to put the most amount of regular season wins together. So 2 teams didn't get selected. It was the Orlando Magic and it was the Oklahoma City Thunder. So it means the Houston Rockets did get selected and finished with the worst record in the NBA with 20 wins. Between the 4 of us, we had I kept updating it throughout the season. I have the final totals. Are you guys ready to see who won the wins draft?
No, because I'm sure I probably came in last, but yeah.
So you're the number one pick in the draft went to John, and he took the Los Angeles Lakers.
Great job.
Yeah,
excellent job.
You know what the crazier part? The 7th pick in this draft was the Phoenix Suns, and they went to Jeremy. He ended up winning more games than anybody else. Okay, so in last place with 286 total wins is Chris Persianen. So
I'm just happy I didn't finish below Chris.
What bit him is that he took Portland with his 4th overall pick, so in the 4th round, and they won 27 games. And he also has Houston, so he has 2 20-win teams on his roster. In 3rd place, second to last, or 3rd place overall, is John Macri, who had 289 wins. So 3 more wins than Chris. You could thank the Detroit Pistons for going on a mini run at the end of the season.
I had confidence all the way.
And last but not least, in 2nd place with 302 wins. And I should say the winner had 306 wins. So in a difference between 4 total wins for the season.
Wow.
In 2nd place is me. Jeremy, nice, you win. You had the Sun. So I'm going to share my screen with everybody so they can see as we sign off. But this is how the wins draft ended up going. So good job by Jeremy in winning the draft this year.
The Lakers fucked me. No, we can't see it.
Okay, but I'll keep working on it.
Anyway,
I just want to say, plain and simple, when I wake up, I piss excellence.
Oh, here we go. Now I can see it. It's very small, but no, that's anyway.
It was close though, Andrew. Hats off to you.
It was close, yeah. The Cavaliers are my last pick, and I got 44 wins out of them.
And the Nets pick. I mean,
hold on. I should get a lot of credit for
Memphis. Yeah, Memphis was late in the draft.
I should actually get credit for every single pick that I took, except the Lakers.
Yep.
I could have taken literally any other reasonable choice with the first pick, and I would have won this fucking thing.
Yeah, but you didn't.
Because I was convinced that they would eke out. You know why I feel not terrible about that? Because I was listening to Pelton go on the Low Post this week, and he had bashed the Rush trade just like I did, just like a lot of people was, and he still picked the Lakers to come out of the West, which was just like, it was my assumption though, like they were going to figure out a way to win 50 games. Of course they did not. All right, a couple last super chats before we go. Mark Ham, if a Spider trade isn't available, the front office should trade Julius to Utah to make things happen the following season. That's a great thought. I'm not sure who we're getting back there. I don't think they have anything that we'd really want. I don't think they want Julius, but yeah, you never know. Stranger things. Robert Cross, GMAC, I'd like to sponsor a recurring segment, Ask Cutlets, where he dissects a cap-related situation or a cap-related question. How do we get this done? Have your people call my people. We'll, I don't know what to say. We'll talk, Robert. We'll talk. And then last but not least, Fern Rodriguez, congrats on the engagement. Hey. Andrew, welcome to the fraternity. I'm not going to read the last part of that, but I will just say we look forward to all future announcements from all of our Knicks Film School family.
Thank you, Fern. Thank you,
Fern,
very much.
And on that note, my God, we couldn't have gone out any other way other than this. This is our own 42-point game, I guess you'd say, or 30-point triple-double. I don't know which of those two is more impressive to you guys. I have no idea. Okay, we're done. Jeremy?
Season in the books. On to the next one.
Great song.
Pretty great. Yeah. But no, just very quickly. So many of you have been generous with your time and your money and your support in general. It's been an incredible season, even if it didn't even turn out the way that we wanted to. And I'm very grateful for this community and this platform and the opportunity to just talk about a team I think about way too much. And I'm grateful that I can talk about that with people who feel the same way and with an audience who is willing to hear what I have to say and have me sprinkle in bits of JFK jokes, almost kind of like with JFK That Fateful Day. So I just want to say thank you. Really appreciate it. I'm really excited for this offseason. I've got some great things planned. At least I think they're great. But it should be a blast and much like JFK. And we'll have fun. So thank you.
Andrew.
Lord.
That's what.
Okay, hold. Jeremy, I love you. I'll start there.
Love you too.
Yeah. So I feel like I've been very I drink if you hear me say this word, self-involved this pod, because a lot of big life events have happened for me lately. This season obviously didn't go as we expected as Knicks fans, but I felt the love throughout this community that we've built here a lot this year. Like my takeaway from the 2021-22 season has nothing to do with like us fighting about Tibbs or rotations or Randall or any minutes like that. It's when my dad got COVID and this entire support system around me helped me forget about it for the 3 weeks that, for like a few minutes were not necessarily touch and go, but where like I just had no idea what was going to happen. And that's like the lowest of lows. And obviously this weekend being the highest of highs, like one thing I had to think about was I couldn't wait to tell like my two of my best friends and then my KFS family about like one of the biggest announcements I ever had to make. And it's because you guys have, I see Robert Cross's super chat.
I'll read it.
It's because you all have made this season worth it. And throughout any frustrating loss or frustrating quarter that we've had to watch, I couldn't wait to be frustrated with all of you, as well as, looking forward to what will come from this team in the future. So thank you. And this isn't goodbye. It's literally see you later. We'll be back very soon with a lot of content going forward.
Yes. And thank you, Robert Cross, for one last super chat. First time, long time, John. In the words of Rodney Dangerfield, I dedicate this building to myself. Hashtag 53 wins. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to Jeremy and Andrew. You guys are absolutely incredible. Chris, Benji, anyone else who's like done spot work for us this year. It's awesome. I will just say that I still remember vividly when a company responded to my inquiry about whether or not they wanted to publish a blog post that I had written, and I was flabbergasted. I think this is 6 years ago now, 5 years ago, whatever it is, that some web entity website was going to publish my words, because I was like, well, no one's ever going to read this, but it's cool. It'll be out there. And now I get to host a podcast and like write a newsletter and come on here and talk about these games. And there are people who are here to do like listen and read and watch, which is talk about a dream come true. I'm fond of saying that like this is if you ask me to create a job from scratch of like what would you want to do in your ideal world, it would literally be this. So I'm luckiest guy in the world, even though this basketball team is not particularly good a lot of the time. That said, I will end by saying this: keep the faith. Good things are happening here. A lot of good stuff happened this year, for as much as we yelled and screamed and argued. I think the organization, in comparison to a lot of other times we can look back on over the last 20 years where things have not been good, they got a chance to do some nice things moving forward. And I genuinely believe that, even with all the issues that they have. And of course, we'll close out by reading one last super chat from Brian Lests. Holy crap, this is still live. Perfect. I love it. No sleep or food till we trade Randall. Thank you guys for a therapeutic year. KFS was the best part of the season. Appreciate that. Appreciate you. Appreciate every single person who gives all of us the opportunity to do what we love and make it so that our respective families and loved ones don't hate us for it. I think that's about it. Okay. Everybody take care. Enjoy your week, and we will be back very soon. Peace out.